Shashum.
Shashum?
That's my new. I'm starting
like
2025 off with like game of the year, and here on out, that's gonna be how I just.
That's it.
Yep.
You're the Shashum.
It is.
I want to do just like Foley work for all of the animations that are happening during the forecast, and pretty much every podcast we do, or every stream we do. So, Jake, when you're streaming on Fridays, I'm just going to be there in the background with a microphone, just making sound effects for all of the games you're playing.
Yeah. No, I'll mute the game audio.
I love that. I'm so pumped. How's everybody doing?
Oh, so good.
So good? This is not high enough energy for this podcast, boys.
I'm bringing so much energy.
I'm ready.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Chad, that was also low energy, but I'll take it. You said you're bringing so much energy.
After you go on an 8-10 lose streak in competitive Marvel Rivals.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay.
Well, I got bots in comp.
And for that, it's not our game of the year.
Yeah.
Take it off the list.
Yeah.
Gotta remove it.
Diablo.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Forecast, the bi-weekly podcast about everything games, film, and news. I'm Aaron Juno.
I'm Alex McCausland.
I'm Ben Diaz.
I'm Caleb Juno.
I'm C-Swizzle Mac Daddy 2025 edition.
Yeah.
I'm Jake Perico.
Those are words.
On today's special edition episode number 209, we dive into the games we love playing this year, talk about our most anticipated games for next year, and battle over our top 10 to ultimately crown one our 2024 game of the year. If you'd like to know more about what we do, you can follow us on our social channels. You can check out our website, wethehorizon.com, where we have a ton of original content for you to browse through, including our new Pathfinder 2e campaign that will finish in 2037, Crown and Conquest. Woo-woo!
Yeah.
Additionally, everything we talk about is in our cast notes, which is pushed out to whatever podcasting app you are using. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to start this off with, here's how this is going to work. We talk about this kind of every year, but we need to make sure we talk about it again and highlight the exact format, because it's always exactly the same. We've never done this differently. We've never done anything different. Ben's already gone. He's over.
No,
He's
I'm
out
here. Hold
of here,
on.
baby.
No, we're talking about it. I'm leaving.
Already tired of it. Here's how it's going to work. Each of us is going to kick things off by sharing our 3 honorable mentions. We'll do them one at a time. Those games that almost made our top 10 list, but still deserve a moment in the spotlight. Well, I guess for each of us, they deserve a moment in the spotlight. Not for everyone.
Jesus Christ, why are you throwing shade at him?
I know.
We haven't even said them.
Then we will highlight our most anticipated game for the upcoming year, the ones we cannot wait to play. And finally, we'll move into the heart of the show, a dual-style discussion where we will debate, defend, and ultimately agree or compromise on the top 10 games of 2024. Ultimately crowning the winner of our coveted Game of the Year title. Buckle up, boys.
So
ready
coveted.
to argue. I had like 6 energy drinks. I'm just ready to go, and Ben's already done again. He's just
He's
tired.
Listen, I'm running away. Aaron's scaring me. I'm hiding.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alex, I
Alright.
didn't like that stank you put on Coveted. You don't want to join the illustrious ranks of Back for Blood?
Yeah, I was about to mention that actually. Do you remember that year we
Yes.
did Back for Blood, and then I found a list of like all the games of the years, and ours was on it, and it was the only one that said
Only
Black for
one.
Blood.
We had to make a name
embarrassing.
for ourselves. The most
Sometimes we mess up.
incompetent podcast.
Listen. It was that
We make
year that we
mistakes.
never went back. We did not go back
We
to
didn't
that
do
format.
that style, yeah.
We'll do it ever again. We've
We
learned.
all looked at that and were like, well, that was not a good format.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, we knew like immediately
It
that
was
was
like,
a
why
mess.
did
That
Back
was,
for Blood get to the top?
Yeah. Well, and I'm pretty sure if you go back and listen to it or watch it, I'm pretty sure we put it at the top because we were just like, oh, let's just put it like this
It
is
was
the first
like,
game
oh,
we
we've all
reviewed.
played this. We'll put it at the top for now.
Yeah.
And then we got to the end. It was like, it's still there.
You hate to see it. All right, let me move us over to our Game of the Year format. Oh, yes! See, Ben's excited now. We're in Game of the Year format, so he's excited.
It was really far away from my camera, but
This fancy format.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty similar to
I don't
what we
know how I
had
feel
last
about
time,
this.
just a little bit
not my
wider.
spot.
Well, you know what, Ben? I was waiting on you to say something. You've become such a core part of the podcast that I put you in alphabetical order.
Oh,
You're
Can
not
you-
just a guest.
Can you
Oh
shift
my
me and
God.
Alex?
I'm honored.
I feel like
no,
I'm staring off screen.
You're
Chad, come on, pay attention. It's over there. Look over there.
That's better. That's better. just look the direction you're supposed to look when you're looking at the game. Oh yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can do that. Okay. Everybody's understands the format. I think we're gonna do just like a couple minutes per honorable mention per person, and then move on. Of course, because I'm the host, I'm gonna start because that's the way it works. Heck yeah.
And not just because it's in alphabetical order. Right?
No,
Coincidence.
All right, I'm going to start this list off with my first honorable mention, which is Stalker 2. Sorry, S period, T period, A period, L period, K period, E period, R period 2, and don't look up the acronym because it's awful. Terrible. Of Chernobyl. If you listened back to our podcast from last year when we did Game of the Year, I'm pretty sure I said this was my most anticipated game for 2024. I love the Stalker series. The very first game was just incredibly intriguing. The story was wild and bizarre, and I just fell in love with it. And when they announced this game, I was so pumped. When I got to play it, obviously there were some bugs early on that a lot of you guys experienced. I experienced very few of them, so I was very fortunate. But for me, what I love about this game is the world that they are trying to build with the story they're creating. The first story was ambitious. This story is even more ambitious and wild and crazy and unique. I love the gunplay in this game. I love the anomalies. I love the storytelling that they do. There are downsides, sure. At times it feels like a walking simulator. You're just going from place to place, and it's a long freaking ways. It's like 3.6 kilometers, and it'll take you 20 minutes to get there. But when you get there, it's worth it.
Immersion, Aaron.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what it is. But yeah, I love this game. I think it's excellent, especially after they fixed the A-Life system, and now there's a lot of chaos just happening in and around the zone. Like I said, I think the story is really ambitious and really unique, and just in general, like the mystery around Chernobyl and like what's going on in this autonomous zone is just really unique to me. So I love this game. I've put 50 hours in it. I don't know if anybody else has even touched it yet.
I played like 3 hours of it, I think.
3 hours? Okay.
I've had a lot of issues with running it, so I haven't gotten that far into it.
I think I still have 4 zones that I haven't even been to.
Yeah,
Wow.
I opened up the map and I was like, oh.
It's
50
a
is-
lot.
How many zones have you done then?
Like 10, 11.
Oh, wow. Okay, there's a lot of zones.
There's a lot of zones, and you get sent back to zones to revisit them later. So you don't just it's just not a linear progression. You kind of are bouncing around the map.
So 50 hours, you probably have like another 20 or something.
Probably. Oh, wait, I forgot. I got video.
Oh my
wow.
god.
Heck yeah.
Is
I
this
did
your,
last
your own
year, too.
gameplay?
Yeah. No, totally. 100%. Yeah, just stand there and let a guy attack me.
Classic.
Aaron.
Yeah.
I love those things.
Now we gotta
That's me.
stall so we can see the rest of the gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. I
Aaron,
can keep
vamp,
talking
vamp.
about this game for freaking ever. Oh, look, trailer's done. We can stop talking about it. Anyway,
Close
Stalker
one.
2, Heart of Chernobyl. I did want to also mention, I think one important fact about this game is the developers have been through chaos over the last couple of years. COVID,
Understatement.
a war, and yet somehow there is a game. Not like 100% polished, but it is so freaking close, and it is so well done. I'm incredibly impressed at the ability to actually push this out.
It's crazy that it came out. Like, as soon as I heard where they were based, I was like, there is no way that's going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
they've got to flee,
Yeah.
essentially.
Just
But
bananas.
here it is.
There it is. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. All right, and we are on to Alex.
Great. I believe this is going to be Black Myth Wukong, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going down the list.
Do I need to move
I
it
just-
first?
I wasn't sure. Okay. I was just making sure.
There is an ordered list for a reason. You did.
They also
Okay.
have numbers
Bump, bump,
on them,
bump,
but
bump.
that's
All
fine.
right. Black Myth Wukong.
You also went second. You could have seen. It's fine. Do your thing.
Yeah, so Black Myth Wukong is a really cool, really polished game, I think. And I think like what I really like about it is the way the combat system works with like you have a light and a heavy attack, but you can't just use the heavy attack whenever you want. You have to like build up meter essentially and then choose how to spend your heavies in specific ways, which I think is like really an interesting way to make a combat system, like design a combat system around. And it's really fun to engage with. Kind of where it broke down for me and why it's not on my like one of my top games of the year is like the exploration bits and like the in between bosses bits, because I almost think it should just be like a boss rush game.
Sure.
Without all of the extra stuff, because none of the enemies in between bosses pose you like any threat at all. And some of the maps can get convoluted, and it's just like it feels like they're padding it out for no reason. But like there's like a bunch of bosses, and they're all really fun. I think it would have worked really well if they just like shrunk some of that
Sure.
extra
Cut
fluff
the
down.
cruft, add like 2 more bosses, call it a day.
Yeah.
Additionally, with the exploration, there's a whole bunch of invisible walls in that game that are really
Mhm.
frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And for a character that is meant to be like jumping around, springy, moving on tops of buildings, you're running into invisible walls. It's really annoying.
Yeah. But really, like the main thing is like the enemies they provide in those areas just pose no threat at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's like, what is even the point? So
Do you feel like bosses in that game were also like they didn't seem super difficult for a game of this caliber?
I mean, they're definitely easier than like a Souls game or something, but
Sure.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't
had
put
a
this
great
in
time
Soul
with them.
category.
Yep.
No, so
Yeah.
I know Dark Souls has obviously popularized the insanely difficult boss, but you know, back in my day, bosses weren't that hard. Exactly.
I had a great time with like the level of difficulty the bosses provided. Like I could beat a boss in like a handful of attempts, you know, like 2 or 3 attempts.
How does it compare
And
to
move
like
on.
a God of War boss?
Probably similar.
Without difficulty settings. So like if you played God of War on its like
On like
default
normal.
You mean
difficulty,
God of War?
I guess you guys played it on
Yeah.
absolute
freaking
bonkers
hell
level.
difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the level of difficulty that I played God of War at, where I like a boss would take me, you know, 5 attempts or less. You know.
5 attempts or less. Get
Yeah.
out of here.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there trying to beat Nah like 30,000
Dude.
times.
Dude.
There was like a handful of bosses in God of War that were like, okay, this is gonna take me some more time, but
There
most of them
are
were
a number of secret bosses in Wukong that are reasonably difficult.
Yeah.
One in particular that's quite difficult because he can counter like most of your moves.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. All
It's
your
also
special
just-
moves, he has like a way to counter each one of them.
it's also just like a super pretty game, and like
Oh yeah.
it's gonna be one of those games that people are gonna be checking future graphics cards to see how they do later down the road.
Like it's the new Crisis.
Yeah, possibly.
can Wukong run it?
Okay, Ben, you're up, and the game you'll be talking about starts with a D. Since we can't follow order.
Okay, listen. I didn't know I was gonna have to introduce it. I thought you were gonna like pop it up.
Jesus.
and then
No,
talk about
it's
it.
your honorable mention by you, not by I'm not honorably mentioning it.
Well, I'd love to talk about Deep Rock Survivor.
Oh heck yeah!
Deep Rock Survivor. It's a by the people who did Deep Rock Galactic, obviously. And it is a vampire survivor-like, or I don't know. I feel like there's enough of these out now. We should just call them a survivor-like of some sort. But I
We
thought
call them
it
like
was-
auto shooters or something, right?
I
That
think auto
sucks.
shooter.
Not
kinda
reverse,
hard
I've
to
heard
work,
reverse bullet hell. Is that
Yeah,
not
that
like
is
what we're still
Reverse
doing?
Bullet Hell or Bullet
I
Heaven.
like that less.
Regardless,
Bullet
Heaven
Heaven.
is okay.
I love that.
I like
no,
Bullet
no,
Heaven.
Bullet
Bullet
Heaven.
Heaven's
Let's go.
That's good.
well, I love this Bullet Heaven game. It is super fun. I think it's a pretty game. I think I love the different classes feel distinct. The level up abilities feel different and feel like I can actually make choices. I think it's really well balanced. There's not like there's certain stuff in a lot of the other games like this. There's very much like, listen, you pick this class, these are the best things you grab for it. Like that's just your build. I feel like this game doesn't shoehorn you into that. You have a lot more options. It's balanced really well. And I think it's just a really interesting additional gameplay other than just run around shoot things. Like the mining, the leveling, the upgrading your gear, the buying stuff that you get with the stuff you mine. I think it's a really fun gameplay package all put together, and it's an excellent install, in my opinion, for anybody's Steam Deck if they want to, sit down and play through a game in like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it's just designed really well for that sort of thing. Love this thing. Definitely my favorite of this genre, and one of my favorite games this year.
Do you play a lot of Bullet Heavens?
I actually do. I do
Oh,
try
okay.
out a lot of the Bullet Heavens that come out.
Didn't realize.
This is probably the one I put the most time in. I mean, I wouldn't say I put a lot of time into all of them. I check out a lot of them.
Sure.
Vampire Survivors is probably the only other one I've actually put this much time into.
Interesting.
But I really like the genre. I think it's fun.
Okay.
It's entertaining while not being super mechanically difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Although this game adds a lot more mechanical difficulty than a normal one of these. But
kinda nice,
it's I like the theory crafting around like figuring out what items to combine and what works best well together that these sorts of games use.
Nice.
All right, on to Caleb.
My first honorable mention is 1000X Resist. 1000 Resist? I don't know how you pronounce it technically.
It was suggested. I think the besties talked about this, that it's like Hunter x Hunter. You don't say the X.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
couldn't
1000
decide on
Resist.
1000 Resist, huh? Okay.
No, literally no idea.
Yeah, no clue. But 1000X Resist, I'm just using the X permanently, is essentially a walking sim with an absolutely phenomenal story to tell. It's a really human story in this kind of apocalyptic sci-fi world. Has excellent characters. It's got an anime feel to it, so that's a big plus, obviously. Yeah, it's just really, really good story. It's all about how the story plays out and how they tell it. It's very unique. I think Jake was the only person I could convince to play this game. But...
Yes. I mean, as soon as you suggested it, I looked it up and I was like, I mean, I do need to play that. Like, that's so up my alley. It didn't click for me as much as I think it did for you, Caleb, which is a shame. I feel like it's a very smart game. It touches on a lot of ideas that I think a lot of people would think were kind of too smart for just a video game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff about the Asian diaspora and immigration and what it's like to live in a different place and generational trauma and the way it plays out across the game. That is the stuff that I found really interesting. I think if this game had ended maybe 5 hours earlier than it did, I probably would have felt a lot more positively about it.
There's a part where the story definitely pivots towards something else.
It focuses on a part of the story that I personally did not care at all about, and then you stay on that for several hours, which is why it wasn't on my list, because by the end I was just like, I want to be done. We finished with the part I like. But it is really, really cool. Really, really smart. Absolutely check it out.
Chad.
Yeah. So it's this one and the fourth on the list, right?
Yeah.
Fifth on the
There we go.
list? Okay. Oh, cool. Yeah. So there's this game called Balatro. I think this is gonna be really short because honestly, I mean it's a poker game with a twist on it, and you can play it on mobile, Steam. There's no cross progression, which I'm kind of sad about.
Yeah.
Because I would love to be able to play it across the platforms and have it on. I bought it on mobile because I wanted it on flights and stuff like that, and when I go out to my in-laws and such. It's a really easy game to get into. I think if you're a non-gamer, you can still get into this game. You basically just get a poker hand going and you try to buff it up with different planets to make the multipliers go higher and higher. You coordinate that with jokers that do certain things to the cards, such as one re-triggers face cards or one re-triggers the first card that's played, stuff like that. Really cool, simple game. And I just thought, what was it, one developer made this just because, and it popped off, man, and it took over. It's good.
The dude's rich.
Yeah. I also really like that he had this game on his desktop in a folder titled That Card Game or something similar to that. It was always on the back burner, and he's like, all right, we'll toss it out there and see how it works. That's cool.
Yeah. Good. Flows nicely. Really easy to pick up and play. I am terrible at it, though. I've only won maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
like
Stick.
working on.
Wait, you can
sorry.
win Balatro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
You go through like the red deck, the blue deck, etc. There's different stuff that's involved with like the red deck. You have one more discard. The blue deck, you have one more card in your hand. I think
Mhm.
that's it. Or one more play, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you have like stakes. So there's the different chips that you can go through. So like you do the red chip, which is just like normal. Then you do the blue chip. Then the green chip is like the anti like increases exponentially faster. And that's like the one I'm stuck on. I cannot beat it.
What I think is really cool about Balatro is it felt like for a long time, oh, you're gonna make a card-based roguelike? Okay, so it's Slay the Spire, but like what's your unique twist? And Balatro says, nope, we're doing something totally different. It's poker. Which I think is great. I like that kind of innovation. And it's so simple and it makes it so approachable. Like you said, non-gamers can go like, oh, I know poker, I can play this, I get it.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
All right, Jake.
All right, so I do Caleb's first one. That's how
Yeah,
we
you
do
do
this,
Caleb's
right? I do
first.
100
You guys are
extra.
so funny.
So my first honorable mention is Astrobot. I almost didn't want to put this as an honorable mention. I know a lot of people on this podcast don't care much for Astrobot, and obviously won the Game Awards Game of the Year, so it kind of got a lot of time in the sun. But god damn it, this game's just fun. I don't know. Every time I play it, I find something that makes me smile. Like whether it's just finding Crash Bandicoot and finding like Nathan Drake and doing a level based on Uncharted. It's just fun. It's just good, clean fun. I just really liked it. It was actually my 5th place for Game of the Year on my personal list. I'm playing to 100% it eventually. Every time I have a little bit of time, like, maybe I'll just do one more world in Astrobot. I'll just do one more. And it's always a good time. I just really like this game.
What is like how long to beat for this game?
Ooh,
If
that's
an
a good
idea.
question. I
like
don't.
12
Probably
hours,
if you were
maybe?
mainlining it, yeah, I bet it's pretty quick.
Okay.
100%ing it is what takes me, because I never walk away from a level unless it's 100% completed.
Mhm.
Like that's just how it is for this game.
Yep.
I'll
Beat says
finish it and
11
it'll be
hours.
like, oh, you missed one guy, and I'm like, well, that sucks because I'm gonna spend the next 30 minutes finding him.
Let me ask you,
I
Jake,
do the same.
is this game still fun if I have not played any Sony games, like
I
any
think so.
PlayStation games? Because it
Yes.
sounds like a lot of
Yeah.
the draw for you is finding all the little like references to the other games.
I mean, I find that very charming. That's definitely a draw for me, but it's still very, very fun. I think it does a good job of mixing up its gameplay.
Worth me buying my PS5 finally for it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I wouldn't buy a PS5 specifically for Astrobot.
It's not a system seller, I don't think.
No.
I
But
mean,
if you buy a PS5, you could play God of War and then Spider-Man and then this. And hey, that's a pretty
do
good
you
set.
like
God of War first for sure.
yeah.
third
Those other
person
ones
or
are on
like
PC.
3D? Do you like 3D
true.
platformers? Is the question really?
That is
'Cause
a
it's
better
just-
question.
It's like a competent 3D platformer.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
On par with Mario Odyssey kind of
If you
level.
I haven't been into
also
Mario
love
Odyssey.
all the nostalgia stuff, I think it kicks it up a notch. Definitely.
Yes.
Good enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of references I didn't get, but I still had a good time playing it.
Pause. Strax.
Yeah, sorry, my cat demands attention.
Important business.
Hmm.
Also, like God of War and Spider-Man are all on PC now, though. So it's like
Yeah.
It is kind
Even-
of true.
you
Even
can buy
Final
a
Fantasy's
PlayStation
there
at this
now.
point.
Yeah. It
I
is
just-
one thing. Sorry, go on.
I didn't even know it. Spider-Man 2 is hitting PC in like not that long, like next week or something.
Wow.
Wow.
I'll just sell my PS5. Ben, you want a PS5?
Not anymore.
Oh, fair.
Can I borrow it to play Astrobot?
I'll go next with my second honorable mention, which is Frostpunk 2. Man, yeah, this game, I love this game. I love the first Frostpunk. If you haven't played it, it's kind of like a city builder where all your decisions are just bad. City builder / resource
That was
manager.
accurate.
Every
It's-
decision
yeah.
is bad.
It's like a survival horror city builder.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, hey,
it's-
you have two options. Do you think you should kill the children, or do you think you should kill the women?
This is
It's like,
yeah. If there was a
is
game
there a
that was
third
like,
option? No, there's
there-
not.
if there's like a game category that was like War of Attrition, like this is kind of what this game is. You just spend the entire time making choices to sacrifice things, people, principles, factions, whatever it is to help the city survive. And What I love about this game is that they took the model, the idea of the original Frostpunk, and they just expanded it. They took it sort of like to the next level up. Previously, you were managing just like a small city and you're trying to keep just those people warm. Now you're managing this like entire region with like resource movement, and there's a lot more factions involved. I know Caleb and I talked when we first played this game that he had interacted with, I think, 4. I think I interacted with like 5. There's 15 factions in this game, so the amount of replayability is, or I think, sorry, not 15, there's 12 factions. And I think the amount of replayability in this game is actually quite vast, which is strange because these games are built to kind of have like a singular story. It's like you follow 6-8 chapters from start to end and you're just trying to survive. I love that. The only annoying thing about this game is you may get to a point where you're like 3 chapters in, you're like, this strategy's not working, and you go back and you start over. I think that's.
Man, I was about to ask, can you like lose in the middle?
Oh yeah.
So it can just be like a super long roguelike at some point.
It essentially is. Yes.
It does save chapter to chapter, but you can have made choices in the previous chapter that don't work out super well in this chapter and could cause you to fail it easily.
I usually play games to feel powerful and be the hero. I to get punished
Some sort of
over
escape,
again.
some sort of power fantasy.
Yeah, I don't know. I love like this is gonna sound absolutely crazy. I love depressing content. I like a lot of the TV shows, same thing. It's like I watch a lot of things that are just like really heavy, really just sort of drenched in like the environment and have a lot to do with like internal conflict and how to like deal with it. And I think this game captures some of that. You don't play as I don't remember what they called you in the first game, like what your title was.
You were the
Yep. Yeah, got it.
The Frostpunker.
No, I thought
The Frostpunk.
I don't remember.
Were you just the captain?
The captain. That's
Maybe,
what it is.
was it the captain? In this
That
one, you're not
sucks.
because you're just in charge of everything. In this one, you're not a captain. You're like
You're like
You
a
could become
regent
the
or
captain.
something.
kind of a regent. Yeah, you can become the captain.
That's
yes,
true.
You can.
Emperor.
But yeah. Anyway, love this
Yeah,
game.
it is just the
Frostpunk 2.
captain.
A great game if you just want to feel miserable for a while at your choices.
Love it.
Alex, you are up, and the game you're going to be talking about starts with Warhammer.
40,000. Space Marine 2.
He got
Is
the
the
right
game?
Warhammer.
He did it.
Also, can I ask, why did it go from Warhammer 40k to Warhammer 40,000? Because some of them are titled 40k, and some of them are titled 40,000. Spelled out.
Man.
People just say either one.
I think you're supposed to say 40K all the time. I said
You
40,000.
are. I don't know why it's
Tongue in
sometimes
cheek.
40,000.
Yeah, I don't know. Did they ever say 40 in the letter K? I don't think so. I think it's
Yep.
always like the number.
I thought Rogue Trader is just 40k.
I don't think it is. I think it's 40,000.
Anyway, the point is this game is just cool. You're just like a big dude killing aliens. It's very throwback feel, like 360 era, like Gears of War style, manly man doing manly things type of game.
Wow.
Look at his footage. This dude is shooting some aliens.
You're just mowing people down.
Yeah.
Wow.
You get chainsaws, you get big old guns,
Well,
and it's
chain
3-player
swords, thank you
co-op.
very much.
Chainsaws.
Three
yes.
players.
That's the
perfect
standard.
player.
The
It's the
industry
perfect number of
standard.
players. 3-player co-op.
Are there 4
it's-
classes?
There are actually more than that.
Okay.
There's a bunch.
Well,
hate it.
the main storyline, there are 3 characters specifically
Okay,
that
got
you
it,
play
got it.
as.
Got it.
And then there's during the main campaign, there's a bunch of like missions that you send to other people on, and you can go play those missions in a separate mode called operatives, where you pick like your class of like 6 or 7 classes, I think, and then you go on your mission with 3 people.
That's supposed to be like their replayable part of the game
Yeah,
that you
can,
like
level
level up your class and get more gear and unlock
Mhm.
cosmetics and completely change the look of your armor to be so sick.
So sick.
Yeah.
Just super
sick.
manly armor.
Super manly and sick. No women allowed.
Literally.
to be fair, in the Adeptus Astartes, I don't think there are any.
Excuse me? In the what?
In Warhammer 40k,
Adeptus Astartes.
Oh, is there like a
That's the
mouse
Space
over that I
Marines.
can read about that? We'll get to that game in a minute.
So yeah, it's just an enjoyable experience, but also it's not that deep, and it kind of it wears on you after a while. It's like, yeah, I get it. This is what we're doing.
To be
after a
fair,
while,
it's
so
not that long campaign wise. So I
But it
don't
looks
think it
great.
overstays its welcome.
it looks awesome. There's some truly breathtaking like visual scenes that happen towards the end of that game.
Yeah.
Some crazy crap happens.
The ending sequence of that game is wild.
They get so many enemies on screen at once. It's nuts. And yeah, it's just like a casual good time.
Ben, your second honorable mention.
My second honorable mention is going to be the Planet Crafter. Planet Crafter's a survival crafter. It is based on basically you're stranded on an alien planet and you're sent down to terraform it by yourself. And you do so by exploring the planet, finding resources to pick up, and then crafting things that will, in addition to helping you terraform it, it also will allow you to get more gear and things like that. The main survival part of it is that you have limited amount of oxygen, food, and water that you need to re-up regularly. The oxygen if you're outside of one of your stations. I know. I think we all got really burnt out on survival crafters over the last few years. I like this one a lot because it has two gimmicks or things that I haven't had in previous survival crafters that I liked. One is that there is a kind of an underlying story you're figuring out as you're going through the world. You're finding like not audio logs, but text logs that have like hints or information, like kind of like leading you towards finding out stuff you didn't know, and occasionally you get more info that's just interesting. And then the second thing is that as you're terraforming the planet you're on, the environment actually changes based on that terraforming level. So you saw in the video there, like plants will grow, it'll start to rain, water will fill up spots. You'll get an atmosphere that'll actually burn up. Pre-atmosphere, more asteroids will run the risk of landing and hurting you. After you have an atmosphere, they'll burn up in the atmosphere a lot. One of the first things that you run into if you aren't familiar with the game is that the starting location for playing, you can set up a base there, but as soon as one of the first things you do when you terraform enough to start getting rainfall is that turns out that you're in a bit of a ditch in the planet, and it turns into a lake immediately. And if you didn't realize that was going to happen, your base is now underwater. It's an interesting gimmick, and as the planet changes around you, it opens up more exploration options. And you find more things that you couldn't have accessed back when it was just, a desert. I thought it was interesting. It was fun. It hooked me enough that I wanted to keep progressing in order to find more information and see what the planet was going to look like once you progress further in the terraforming.
Nice.
It looks very Subnautica-like. Does it play similarly?
I think it takes inspiration from that. I haven't actually played Subnautica, so I don't know for comparison. It was fun. It is. I believe you can play it co-op. But it definitely has some flaws still. I thought they could have been done a lot better with the resource gathering. I don't know if you saw in the video there. The resource gathering, there's literally just little bits of resource on the ground. Like all those little things you see on the ground, that's just the resource you mine. You don't go like looking for rocks or like things. I mean, there's some caves where certain resources will spawn other than elsewhere, but it felt a little lazy to me.
Man, imagine how much more efficient at resource gathering we could be if we had a tool that could just pick up literally anything that was sitting on the ground and convert it to its base element. That'd be great.
Yeah, store it somewhere.
Yeah. And ether.
I thought they could have made the actual mining portion a little more interesting, but and then the graphics were just okay, but it's a small indie game, so I wasn't going to dock it too much for that.
Caleb, your second honorable mention.
Yeah, so my second honorable mention is a game that technically came out in December of 2023, which is why it's my honorable mention.
Peter!
Because we didn't have time to play it for 2023 Game of the Year, really.
Get him out of here.
Because it's a big game.
Disappointing. I didn't know we could pick December 2023 games. I had
did.
some.
Only for honorable mentions, guys.
Yeah,
Only
I
honorable
had
mentions.
I had Ixion last year, and that came out at the end
Aaron,
of
I would like to change one of my
2023 as well.
honorable mentions now.
Or 2022.
Honorable
Mid-podcast,
mentions
please.
are like Wild Wild West, man.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
As long as, it's got to be.
Someday somebody's gonna put a board game in here that has like an online or like has an app associated with it.
The third Citizen Sleeper they said is going to be a board game. I was like, honorable mention?
Yeah.
What is it? Whatever. Go
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So my game is Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. This is the new Owlcat Games game. People behind the Pathfinder RPGs, CRPGs, and it is an exceptional CRPG. I know I've been playing it with Aaron, Alex, and Jake, but I had a hankering to play more of it, so I did.
What are you talking about? We play it like once every 3 months. Is that not enough?
That's not enough. So I started
Interesting.
playing more of it, and man, it is so good. It does everything well. The combat is really well built. It's not terribly difficult unless you really crank the difficulty up, I found. But man, there's so much build variety in your characters, and a lot of the companion characters have unique abilities that you can't get on like a mercenary character or on your main character, which I love that kind of stuff. And there's a whole traveling the star system section that we haven't even got to yet, where you go to planets and mine resources and build outposts and all this kind of stuff. And there's
hover
always
over a
like
planet and shoot probes at it.
no, you scan it once. You
Dang.
don't have to probe it until it's empty.
Dang.
Oh.
So much
You don't
better.
get to land on it and then drive around a little buggy.
You can land on some of them, but you don't get a buggy. Sadly.
Bad game.
Also,
0 to 5.
this game had a DLC since we started playing it, and wow, the DLC is crazy good, and also
Wow.
has a new archetype that is busted good.
Does this
so I'm
mean
just-
we can
Go ahead.
crank the difficulty on our playthrough now?
yeah,
I feel
Thank
like
goodness.
you've
We
been
just-
the voice that keeps on saying, guys, the all-cat games get hard.
that's
We
what I
shouldn't put it
thought.
up too high.
That's what. To be fair, we played like 6
What a
hours
lamer.
of it, so I mean,
crank it to max, baby.
Let's do
now
it.
we can really
Yeah.
crank it up. I think we'll be
Crank
fine.
it to 11.
Also, I think your characters just don't die in combat. Really, I think they have to get like a whole bunch of wounds over multiple combats to actually die. But yeah, it's been stellar. The writing in it is so good. So many interesting storylines, especially with the companion characters.
I mean,
I've been loving it.
Warhammer 40k in general has a lot of content to pull from, and you
Yeah.
can tell that they have a lot of content to pull from because of the amount of like mouse over features they have. Where you're just like, oh, I'm gonna read about some dude that carries a coffin of uranium, like fuel to the device that powers the ship, and he dies every time he goes. It's a one-time trip. Okay, cool, cool.
One of my favorite things is that some of those mouse overs are like a blue mouse over, and it's because of a decision you've made in the past that's having an effect on that encounter. And they do it a lot, and I think it's really cool to show that your decisions have made, impact. Especially for the companions, it seems like it changes the companions pretty significantly.
For me, it's just I have liked all of the old Owlcat games, but this is the first one that didn't feel janky as hell.
Yes.
This is literally, we started. I was like, oh, this feels like a real video game.
Yeah.
Like their
Fair.
last 2 games, I have loved. Like especially Wrath of the Righteous, their previous game. Love that game. So cool, so good. Always has just like a little bit of jank. Every time I do something, I'm like, this is a little bit broken, but that's fine.
It's true.
Like I'm enjoying it, but it's probably broken. Kingmaker was broken from tip to tail. The whole thing was just busted as hell.
yeah.
But this one, I do something. I'm like, oh, that just works. Okay, great, awesome, so
Love it.
cool.
At times I'm playing this and I'm like, is this as good as Baldur's Gate 3? And then I'm like, no.
No,
But
Wow.
only because it doesn't have like an immersive sim kind of feel where you can use stuff outside of combat that has major implications and changes
Let's-
environments and stuff.
let's scale it back a little bit.
It's
not
really
that
good.
good.
It's
It's
really
not that
really
good.
good.
It'd probably be in top 10 if it was that good.
Yeah,
It's
that's a good
2023
point.
game is the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, that too. Cheater.
That's why I brought it.
Chad, your second honorable mention.
Yeah, so this is not a game.
Mhm.
This is a expansion. So this is
The
Destiny
Wild Wild
2's
West.
The Final Shape. I've found this expansion to be incredible. It really 180'd from Lightfall. Like
Yeah.
it's a night and day compared. The content was really good. The way they made the legendary campaign felt really nice. Like the difficulty level there was like really really good. Right out the gate, you get Prismatic, which just changes Destiny completely. You're able to use basically all the subclasses in one subclass. Like the best parts of the subclasses in one subclass. So it's It's really nice to be able to do that. The raid that they released, Salvation's Edge, I've completed 19 times.
Holy crap!
It is so well done.
I can think of except for one thing.
Which thing would that be?
Jumping at the very last
can
boss
jump.
fight.
Oh my gosh!
This may be my favorite moment.
Yeah.
Jumping.
I mean, I've completed it enough that like I actually think Verity is probably the easiest encounter in the game. Period.
Really?
Wow.
The
Yeah.
shapes
Yeah, I
one?
guess. Yeah, if you just know it,
Yeah.
I could see that.
There's nothing really
Figuring
in
it
there that
out
does
is the
anything
hard
for
part.
to you. Right.
Mm.
It's just the timing of stuff and not messing up the puzzle. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything's so easy to kill in there that it's just like whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's. I think they did a really, really good job on the final shape, and then they swiftly went into making a crap ton of mistakes with the seasonal content. So,
Yeah.
I haven't touched that game in a while because it's just there. I'm waiting for what Frontiers is going to look like because they've got to do something, or else this game is legitimately dead.
Yeah, Final
They
Shape was
did
such
so
a
good.
yeah, such a nice breath of fresh air. They added the Dual Destinies mission was so cool.
Oh,
And they
yeah?
added so
Yeah.
many like
Yeah.
mechanics to just the legendary campaign that were really interesting. I mean, it was just all good. And then whoops.
Like
Yep.
maybe their best expansion.
It is, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean they released the new dungeon that was good. They're supposedly coming out with a dungeon and raid. All the raid and dungeon content's always good.
Yeah, it's always
But
good.
the thing is that the seasonal content is just not like they've actually tweeted out apologies for some of the seasonal content that they've released because of how bad it is.
That's grim.
I just need them to unvault all the old raids and I'll be happy. Just one at
Yeah.
a time, spread it out. That's fine content for me. Do one like every couple months. Give me a raid back.
Yeah,
My
they'll have
thing is,
Leviathan
like,
back.
I feel like they could just have a rotating pantheon and people would actually enjoy that. And that'd be
Yep.
content that we could even jump into and play.
Mhm.
Because it'd be
Yeah.
like, hey, new pantheons out. Like, there's different bosses we could rotate through, get this, different loot. But they had Pantheon out for a limited time and then they got rid of it. And then they've never come back out with something else like it.
Oh no.
Like
They
Onslaught was cool for like 12 minutes, and then after you get out of Onslaught, you're like, man, I don't want to do that again. Like
Yeah.
I'm good.
Jake, on to your second honorable mention.
My second honorable mention. This is a little bit of curveball. I don't think anyone other than me played this. The Holy Gosh Darn. This is
Sure,
the.
this isn't a Caleb game.
Wow, what are you trying to say?
It's funny. The angels do curse in this game, which is fun.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is the third game in the Tuesday trilogy. The Tuesday trilogy being Manuel Samuel, Helheim Hassel, and now the Holy Gosh Darn. All made by the same company, Perfectly Paranormal. This one is it's sort of like an adventure game, like a time loopy adventure game. You are playing as an angel, and heaven gets destroyed at 4 o'clock every day. And so you get a device that lets you rewind time, and so you gotta go figure out how to make heaven not get destroyed. Just like the other games in the trilogy, the writing is really the highlight here, and I think this format, right, the adventure game format, really lets that shine. It's definitely, I think it's my favorite of the trilogy. Manuel Samuel's obviously the other really good one, but it's a little short. This one feels like it actually has some content to it. I don't know. It's really good. It's not, I don't know if it's like a top tier kind of game, but I really, really enjoyed playing through this one. It's really good. Check it out.
Does Death do any sick kickflips?
I don't know if he skateboards.
He did in
He
the
is-
first,
he's
he did in
around
the
a
first
lot,
one,
though.
right? He
Mhm,
talks
mhm.
about doing a kickflip nonstop.
He always, yeah. He's on a skateboard trying to do a kickflip. Feces.
Oh, he's-
Oh, feces. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because fun fact, the angels swear, and the reason Death doesn't swear is because the devil doesn't like them to swear because it reminds him of heaven.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that's really good.
That's
Right?
funny.
That's a good fucking
Wow.
joke. I don't know. That's funny. So
Also-
this game's just full of stuff like that.
I remember meeting one of the devs at PAX, and he was just like a really cool
Yes. Yeah, I remember we hung out with him. I think it was when Helheim Hassel was about to come out.
dude. Yeah.
He was just like so excited, and we were like, "Oh, we know you. We know the game you made." And he was like, "Oh my gosh!" So it's a good game. It probably doesn't deserve a game of the year, but it definitely deserves a shout out because this game's fun.
Okay, on to the last round of honorable mentions. My third game for this one is Animal Well. I think almost all of us played this game, actually. Did everyone play this? Ben, did you play this? Ben didn't play this. Chad, did you play this? Okay, that's 2 people didn't play. That's okay. That's okay. It's all right.
Almost all. 67%. Almost
Yeah,
all.
that's pretty good.
Passing grade.
What to say about this game? This game is just really unique. The art style's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. The mix between the sort of pixel art style plus they have like almost realistic type animations for things like smoke and explosions and lights. It's just very strange. It's kind of it at first does not seem like they go together, but then as you play more of the game, it really starts to just kind of meld. I love it. Also, this game is 33 megabytes. Process that for a second. That's just bananas.
That's crazy. That's huge.
It's huge.
Back in my day, they were in kilobytes.
And the other cool thing I think about this game is the guy who developed it built the engine from the ground up, which
That's
we
why
don't
it's only
see.
33 megabytes.
Right.
Yeah,
we don't-
exactly.
We do not see that very often, and because of that, the entire game operates on its own like singular mechanism. So affecting anything anywhere on the map affects the entire map itself in various different ways, which is really cool. I think a lot of times games do that, and it sometimes can feel convoluted. This game, it just feels completely core to what you're playing, and I think that's really neat. Also, the amount of secrets in this game with the eggs, crazy. Crazy. I don't know that you could find them all yourself unless you looked some up. It would be,
I think there's one that you explicitly can't do alone. That might be a bunny. I think it's a bunny.
man, good game though. Really like
What's
this game.
up
I haven't
with-
Sorry,
shown any video.
it's not an Easter egg, it's an Easter bunny, is what you're saying?
True.
Isn't there isn't this game supposed to be sort of like Tunic where like the end isn't the end and there's like a separate like you
Yes.
solve a bunch of puzzles and then there's like a second end or something?
Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
I will tell
I
you, I played the game until credits rolled, and I feel like I basically didn't play the game. I might as well have not installed it.
Yeah, I did the
There's a
same
lot
actually.
more after that.
Yeah.
I tried to start figuring some stuff out and I was like, I'm not feeling it.
See, that is exactly how I felt. I want to I feel like I'm missing out on something cool, but I'm also like, I
Yeah.
don't wanna. I don't know.
I feel that. I feel that.
I don't want to do it.
It also,
Yeah, I feel
I
bad
think a lot of
about
that comes down to timing too. Like sometimes games for me are just very seasonal, and it'll take
Oh,
me a
sure.
while to pick it up and play. This one was just immediate. I don't know. It worked. It clicked.
I have absolutely noticed, just speaking from personal experience, sometimes you play a game and you're just like, I am not in the mood for whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then other times the game comes out and you're in the exact right mood for it and you're like, wow, that just hits for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I needed this exact game at this exact moment.
Love this game. 33 megabytes. Did I mention that? That's crazy.
It is insane.
Alex, your third game. It
Yes.
starts with S.
My
Oh,
third game on this list is Stolen Realm, which actually hit 1.0 and released in 2024, which is why I'm including it because
Did you play it after release?
I
know I haven't.
I played a little bit of it, maybe a couple hours with the family.
Okay, nice.
But most of my play in this game has been years in the past. But I think it's so cool what it does. It's very unique. You can put 6 people together, and it's a hex-based, turn-based combat game. It says 4-player online co-op, which is not even correct. That was
be an old trailer,
It's
I don't
an
know.
old trailer. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do 6 players, and because the turns are simultaneous, it doesn't feel like it bogs down at all.
Well,
And well, I mean, I guess it depends who you play with.
Yeah.
hey mom, next turn. Hey mom, mom,
There's-
next turn. Mom, please, mom.
It's like 5 people on the side of the screen that all say ready. One person's lit up still.
And it's not you?
What's happening? It's not me, Caleb. No, it's not me.
Wild.
Sometimes.
There's like a bunch of different classes you can spec into, and also it just lets you freeform spec into any of them at any time, so you can make some really cool builds. And I think it's just like super cool that you can have that many of your friends all playing a tactics style game at the same time. And it's
Don't they know it's supposed to be 3 players only?
That's it. That's all I got.
Ben, your third honorable mention.
My third honorable mention is economics or economics. It is a roguelike strategy game where you are playing as a commander of sorts for several gnome classes that are going down into dungeons in an attempt to get resources. You do a dungeon run to get resources, and then you come back to the top and use those resources to upgrade your town, upgrade your build, get more abilities, upgrade your gear, and then you make another run. And as you get to the bottom of each of the runs, you unlock a new area that you can then go down and try to get down that area. I found it really cute. I thought the graphics were fun. The dialogue was pretty fun and quirky. The gameplay was entertaining. I liked the aspect of, because the world's kind of falling apart around you, every turn there's a risk reward where you're like, all right, like I need to go get resources, but I also need to fight the enemies, but I also can only stay for so long because I'm going to run out of food and then have to go back up to base. And it just it was very entertaining. Just a good, solid, fun game.
Got some goofy looking characters. I like the little ninja guy just slicing up bushes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're fun little characters.
Caleb, your last honorable mention.
My last honorable mention is Arco. Arco is a pseudo turn-based RPG, I guess I would say. The combat plays out. You plan your turn in a turn-based mode, and then once you kind of end your planning phase, it all plays out in real time. So the enemies you can see where they're going to shoot. So you kind of plan where you're going to move throughout the turn in order to kind of dodge their bullets and get your own shots off. And as you progress, they add mechanics that cause you to plan your turn very quickly, because they throw in these ghost enemies that only move during the planning section and not during the real-time section, which kind of forces you to think quickly, which really adds some tension to the combat, which I really liked. It's also got a really, really interesting story. It covered, you play as, I think, 5 or 6 different characters over 3 kind of different separate storylines that all kind of interweave at some point. And I think it does a really good job of telling all of those character stories and weaving them together to tell a really cool overarching story about kind of colonialism and how terrible it can be.
Big brain ideas.
Yeah, Caleb was big on that this year, apparently. Between
Yeah,
this and
clearly.
1000 X Resist.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but these games
It
just
was-
hit really
Man, it
hard.
was a good year for colonialism, huh?
Yeah.
Not what I was saying. Not what I was
No,
saying
that's
at
right.
all.
We all heard you say it.
Yep, can confirm.
Chad, your last honorable mention.
Yeah, so another Crab's Treasure is my honorable mention. I haven't played too much of this game. Actually, Caitlin has played way more than I have.
Seems
Funny.
like a Caitlin game.
I think the dialogue in this game is just super clever and funny. Really, really quirky. But basically, I mean, you start off and there's the shark, little shark clamper guy, like the plastic clamp that you can like grab things with, like that. That's like he's a shark taking your home, the loan shark, if you will. And
Gosh.
so your quote unquote home gets taken from you, which is your shell, and you're a hermit crab. And your adventure is trying to go and get it back. And so while you're walking around and exploring, you're picking up like all this trash that's in the ocean. So like you can pick up like soda cans or bottle caps or stuff like that to put on your back. And they have different like abilities that you can use to fight your foes. And there's like boss fights and stuff like that. Kind of like it's Dark Souls, but it's a crab and you have a broken fork and various different shells that you're using. It's pretty fun, pretty cool, pretty clean.
Is there no like actual shells anywhere that you could just use as a home? You
No.
need the one shell?
Yeah, just various different things to pick up.
That's
like
crazy.
tennis balls,
Even if you
shot
could.
glasses.
That was your
Tin
shell
cans.
they took. What,
Yeah,
it's true.
Were you just
Your
going to let them
shell,
get away
yeah.
with that? No.
Yeah.
Who cares if there's another perfectly good shell? That wasn't your shell.
Yep.
You want your shell.
You what you're picking up for quote unquote souls is microplastics.
Wow.
Man,
That's
is
so
the,
grim.
is the
Yeah.
underlying moral of the story that humans just pollute everything? Is
Yeah,
that
probably.
okay? All
I
right.
think the underlying
That's up
message
there
is
with
that
colonialism.
microplastics are actually great.
Oh yeah.
They actually
Love
help
'em.
crabs a lot.
Mhm,
Yeah,
they
sure.
love them.
The music when you get a boss fights is just it's a bop. It's a jam. Nice. Good game.
Jake, your last honorable mention as you're taking a sip of water. There you
Good
go. I
timing,
filled in
good
the-
timing.
I got you.
No, my last honorable mention is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. This is a game, it didn't really click for me super well this year, but I feel like in a few months I'm gonna get on the podcast and be like, I was a fucking idiot. This is the best game that came out in 2024. What was I
Wow.
thinking? But I just I feel like I haven't put enough time into it to hit that point where I love it. The the first part, it's very cutscene heavy. These games are always cutscene heavy, but this one feels especially cutscene heavy. The gameplay is actually really fun. It's turn-based, just like the last Like a Dragon game. But you have a lot of maneuverability within that. You can move around in a 3D environment, so you can line yourself up to use the environment to your advantage, or knock an enemy into one of your companions, and then they'll do a follow-up attack. It's really cool. Also, Danny Trejo's in this game eventually. Haven't reached that point either. So this is really just here so that way in a few months when I say that this should have been my game of the year, I know we can look back and be like, Jake knew this would be his game of the year, but he didn't play it enough. So that's why this is here.
All right, we're going to move on to, real quick, our most anticipated games each for 2025. Of course, I'm hosting, so I'm starting this off again. Really important. By the way, I don't have any videos for this. I thought videos would be weird. There's a lot. Some
God,
of I
amateur.
didn't know if some of them are going to be in alpha or whatever. Whatever.
I'm leaving. I'm out of here.
So, for me, what I am most excited about, there was another game, but we'll get there in a second. Bye, Jake. We'll get there in a second because Caleb's going to talk about it, or Alex is going to talk about it. But my other most anticipated game for this year is Split Fiction. If you don't know anything about this game, it is from Hazelight Studios, which is the developer that made It Takes Two, which this is a great example of a game that I just let sit and didn't touch for a long, long time, and then was like, oh, I've heard this game's really good. Picked it up, played with Derek, absolutely loved it. Think it is just a phenomenal game, excellent storytelling, really cool concept, and the sort of duality of playing with somebody else where it really requires you to have actual teamwork in everything that you do is really, really neat. What's the guy's developer's name? What's his name? Fares? I don't know. He was on stage one year, remember, at
Oh, he's on
every
stage
year.
this year, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
was
are
he
you talking
excited
about?
again this year?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
No,
all
he
right.
was really subdued and chill. What are you talking about? Of course. He was crazy. He was a madman.
Obviously, he was
him.
like, "This is the best game you'll ever play. I'll give you your money back if you don't like
This game will blow you away. Also, look at my beautiful wife. Point the camera at my beautiful wife and my kids. Point it over there. They're there, sitting there.
I love that guy.
It's so good. I'm really excited about this game. You play as two writers, one of them who writes for fantasy and one of them who writes for sci-fi, and you get stuck in your stories. It looks just really cool. I'm pumped to play this. So that's my game. Alex.
Yeah, my game is Doom: The Dark Ages, which is id's next Doom game. It's going to be a prequel to 2016 and Eternal. And
A prequel that has clearly abilities that you didn't have in
Yeah.
2016 Eternal.
You forgot
but okay.
about him.
Yeah.
you
Or
know,
you get sent back in time.
for the sake of gameplay innovation, I don't really care how they explain it.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah,
probably hand wave something like, "Oh, the reason why you don't have the super muncher gun that can kill hordes of enemies in 1 second in the future games is because the technology breaks forever and you can never revive it."
I'm gonna
Love
love it with you. If you're playing Doom for the plot, what are you doing?
I know, but they just actually today had a developer direct where they talked a bunch about this game, and the discussion of how they're designing the new combat sandbox and the gameplay loop that you go through. It just sounds really awesome. They talk about how you're like really acrobatic in Eternal, and like it kind of got not as grounded as they would like, and so they're bringing it back to like older Doom kind of style. You're grounded on the ground, you're strafing, you're more like a unstoppable tank in this game than like a fighter jet. What they're saying.
Heck yeah.
And they've got like a lot of really cool mechanics based around the shield that they've shown off. So they have like this Doom shield that's going to be able to like parry, and you can throw it at people, and it's got crazy abilities. It looks like that you can like kind of weave your melees in with.
Do I get to use that flail in the image?
You do get to use the flail.
Heck yeah.
As well as a couple other melee weapons. It seems like melee is more of a focus slightly. But they also talk about like guns will always be the center of Doom. So like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just really excited for new Doom. Doom's always so sick, I think.
Agreed.
I think there's a decent chance this was a lot of our most anticipated. We can't all do the same one.
Yeah,
or
correct.
at least top 5, you know.
Yeah, for
Up
sure.
there for sure.
Ben.
Civ 7. I love Civilization games. I play a ton of them, and granted, I play a lot more Civ 5 than 6, but I'm still very pumped for Civ 7 to see what they do innovation-wise for this, and it's coming out so soon! It's February 11th.
Nice.
Wow,
That is really soon.
Yeah, super
Right.
pumped for it.
I'm a very casual Civ player, so I'm really curious, as someone who plays a lot of Civ, what kind of changes would get you excited? Because like I genuinely, if you put a gun to my head and you ask me what's the difference between Civ 5 and Civ 6, you might as well pull that fucking trigger. I'm dead.
So what specific thing would get me excited? That's a good question.
Or just generally, like what kind of the system change? I don't know. I'm not trying to grill you here. I'm just curious.
I'm kind of
'cause to
hoping
me,
they change the. So, granted, you're going to get a different answer from me because I like Civ 5 more than 6. So, some of my answers
fair.
are going to be like, I hope they adjust some of the things they did in Civ 6.
acceptable.
Like, I wasn't big on the district section system in Civ 6.
Okay.
And I'm hoping they change that up a little bit. But I'd like to see. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of specific things. I'm
Okay,
just
yeah, I
excited
know.
for new Civ.
Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
we'll
you're
see when it
fine.
comes out. I was just curious, like
you make a
if
good
there was
point, and
something.
no, I don't have any specific things I'd say I'm very excited for.
Okay.
It's just I like Civ a lot, and it's a new one.
Acceptable.
I will say, whoever they
Hopefully.
hired for their marketing team, they know what they're doing. Like the advertisements for this game and the graphics that they did for all of like everything they've been pushing.
Civ's always had crazy like trailer animations for all of their games.
Yeah.
Like they usually get those on point, which is very funny because it's a game that does not lend itself well to trailers,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in this one they're finally going to let you build a civilization.
Like from scratch? Oh, that's exciting.
No, I
That
don't,
is actually pretty cool.
no, I don't know.
Oh, are you just
Wow.
bullshitting me? Okay.
Wow, lame.
Damn, you got
I
me
think-
excited.
Kick him
Like,
off the
I think,
you got me
uh,
this whole space.
get
Like,
him
oh
outta
man,
here.
you can
From
make
what I-
custom civs.
the only
like,
thing
mix
I
and
remember
match
is,
abilities
like,
from other
they-
civs. That'd be so
That
cool.
would be cool.
That would be
Actually,
actually really
I think
cool.
you can mix and match
Alex,
like
you've just invented a
He's
genius
making this
idea.
up now.
no, I
on the
think
fly.
they've said that you can like mix and match like the leader in the quote unquote civilization.
Oh, I do remember hearing
And
that.
then I
That
think
would be
there's
fun.
something about like you can change leaders partway through or something, like when the
Hmm.
milestone happens or something like that.
Interesting.
Good old coup.
Weird. Yeah, and I feel like Firaxis really needs a win after Midnight Suns kind of
Oof.
flopped pretty hard. I still
a
like
good
that
game.
game, but it's a
Yeah.
good game. I don't think it sold
I feel
very
like
well, which
I
is
keep
a
on
shame.
seeing people come out and be like, "Oh, actually, Midnight Suns was really good." I was
I
like,
have-
"Oh."
I
Nobody
started
said that
playing
when
it
it came
again. Rivals gave me the Marvel bug. Sorry, I'm getting us off topic, but
It's okay. Caleb,
My most anticipated game is Judas. Man,
you mean BioShock, right?
yeah.
Bioshock
It has
4.
been so long since we've seen something from Ken Levine. So long. Been waiting for so long. This is from his new studio, Ghost Story Games. I say new studio. It's a rebrand of Irrational Games.
Whatever.
But yeah. I really just want to see what these narrative Legos are going to be like, man. Just so excited for these narrative Legos.
Remember when he left
See how they
Irrational
fit
because he
together.
didn't want to work on BioShock anymore?
Yeah.
You see the first trailer from this?
Thank
Like,
God he got away from that. Oh
I
my
do.
god.
Yeah, I
Did
mean, I
you,
don't have a ton to say about this. It looks interesting so far. And anything from him, I feel like is going to be at least decent.
At least interesting, right?
Yeah.
Did you listen to the interview with Skill Up? Skill Up went and interviewed Ken
I
Levine.
did. Yeah.
That got me so interested in this game. It sounds so cool.
It does.
Excited for it. Chad.
Yeah. Most anticipated. Elden Ring and Night Rain. I love me some Souls-like. And this just seems like more Souls with friends.
Do you think it could win Game of the Year?
What if it gets nominated again?
That'd be
That's
so
a
much.
possibility.
This
Why not?
is
It's a different game, guys.
This
It
is a
is.
standalone,
Yeah.
at
This
least.
is a
Oh, it is
standalone
a
game.
standalone game. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
so it's
So
not an
apparently,
expansion.
from what we understand, it's going to have 8 different classes that you can play pre-made. And then on top of that, you are scavenging kind of BRE-like for weapons and gear and stuff. And there is, I think, rain that is closing around you till you finally get to the final boss fight. There's day-night cycle, and on the third night, there's the night rain boss that you fight. So I think it's kind of roguelike-y.
Mhm.
And yeah, it seems pretty cool.
Interesting.
It
Nice.
sounds a lot like Raven's Watch in structure.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that.
From
It
what
does
we've
sound
seen.
similar.
It's
That does make
like
sense.
you explore, you get things to make yourself better. You eventually are forced to fight a big boss, and then you go to a new area and do it all over again.
Mhm.
Yup.
You do it like 3 times in a row, and there's like the main boss at the end.
There's a lot of games recently with that formula. Like, so you got 33 Immortals as well. It's quite similar.
What are we calling those now? Like a Raven's leg?
Raven 'em ups.
Raven them up. Got it.
Mhm, mhm.
Jake, last but not least.
Ah, man, I feel so lame for this one. Ghost of Yotei. It's the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. I feel like if you described Ghost of Tsushima to me, I would be like, man, that game sounds so lame. Sounds like every Ubisoft game in the history of Ubisoft. But fuck, man, Ghost of Tsushima goes so hard. I've been replaying it like in anticipation of this. That game is so pretty and so fun, and I am so excited to see what they do for a sequel.
Yeah.
Just another beautiful game with a main character who maybe has a personality. I'm so excited. So
Does-
hype.
Does anybody have the director's cut on Steam?
On Steam.
Of this of Ghost of Tsushima? Yeah. You guys all play on PlayStation.
Yeah, on PlayStation. Sorry,
I
you're gonna
was-
have to drive over to someone's house.
I'm just gonna. I had. It's been on my wish list for a long time, ever since the director's cut version dropped, and I'm like, $70 for okay.
Man, it's
I just don't-
just good. Yeah, I mean, definitely, you have like 5 people who PS5 you can steal. Just steal them and play
Yeah.
it. But it's just good. It's the kind of game that I play and I go, oh, this is why the Ubisoft formula became popular. Because when they did it well, it just fucking works. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's like the stealth, really fun. The combat, really fun. And they both just work well together. I don't know. I'm so
The
excited
freaking
to see what they do
duels?
for the sequel. Yeah! The little standoffs, the boss fights, and it's so fucking pretty on PS5.
It's so pretty. Man, it's
It
so
looks
pretty.
so good. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Okay. All right. I'll keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Okay. It is go time.
Big
We are
boy
here.
time.
It's big boy time. We have. Man, okay, so just to explain, if you're, I mean, for the 3 listeners, how we do this is we put all this in a list and then we vote.
Whoa.
We like rank our top 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our 5 is our best. Our 1 is our least favorite, and then we sort of compile that list into a Fibonacci ranking. Thanks, Caleb, to ensure that everybody gets at least their top. I think it like almost ensures everybody gets their top game in the top 10 list.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then from that, we are going to argue about these 10 spots, top 10 games from bottom to top. My energy drink is wearing off, so I think I'm going to have to grab another one here. But
A lot of top.
yeah, a lot. Okay,
Oh,
so
we're
the way
talking
this-
top.
Bottom. The way this works is we will get, we're going to do this in duel format, which means somebody's going to nominate a
wrap
game
your arguments.
on the left and the right-hand side, and then we're going to have a duel. Those people are going to argue over that game and whether or not it fits in that spot. Granted, in some cases, we just may decide that a game fits in a spot if it makes sense, but bottom to top. All right, so we are in position 10 Do I have any nominations from the list of 10? By the way, should I say list of 10 or should we just roll with it? I think we just roll with it. I don't know.
There's literally 10 question marks on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
I think they noticed 10.
Well,
no, he's saying, do we announce what the 10 games are?
No. Wait, we'll make it a surprise for our two viewers.
Okay.
At this point, if they've made it this far, everyone else has turned it off.
I am taking nominations for the 10th spot.
10th spot.
I'll nominate something. I'm not afraid.
Do it.
I'll get in there. I'll nominate Last Epoch.
Ooh.
You guys know I'm not an ARPG fan.
Yeah.
So I mean, I
That's fair.
did try to get into Last Epoch. It was fun. I think it's better than most ARPGs I've played. But still, ARPG still didn't get me. Still didn't grab me.
Like he says, I'm not afraid. I'll nominate number 10, and then nominates not a game he voted on.
That's why he wasn't
did
afraid.
play
He's
it,
calling
though.
somebody out.
I did play it though.
Why don't you nominate something, Ben? Since this is like
Yeah.
Last Epoch's like high up on your list, so let's
Breakdown.
counter it.
It was a big win for me. Here's the thing: if I nominate something, do I have to argue against Last Epoch?
You don't. You don't
You
necessarily. You,
whatever you
could
want.
say something. I'm going to put something in there that I think is worse than Last Epoch because I think Last Epoch's got it.
Theoretically, you'd want to put something that you think is worse.
Or you could
wanna-
just say, you know what, everybody's right. It
You
is
can
at
do
number 10,
whatever you
and we'll just
want.
put it at 10.
Also, somebody else can recommend something. It doesn't have to be.
I was just trying to put him on the spot to get it.
I could
dare
tell.
you.
I could tell.
Yeah, get his ass.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Is this Ben's first GOTY?
I think so.
No, I participated last year, but I don't
Okay.
think I had any nominations.
Yeah.
Because I started
classic.
casting with you guys so late.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
I think I
sure.
tried
Okay,
to
okay.
speed play a couple, and
Yeah,
I
this is
wasn't
ringing a
really
bell now.
Well,
involved.
and if you remember, he wasn't in alphabetical order last time. Now it's legit.
Yeah, now he's in, baby.
Now-
now I'm
Yeah.
on above board.
Correct.
Okay. Let's go. Sure. You know what? I'll nominate Echo Point Nova.
Getting in there.
All right. Who wants to
Two
talk about
E
what here?
games.
Kind of what I expected him to do.
Yeah.
Who wants to talk about what? You guys got to argue over this. Somebody's got to tell me why these games deserve to be not at number 10.
Not at number 10.
I could take Echo Point. Since, you know, I have it rated higher than anybody else on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, Echo Point is a very fast-paced shooter, and by very fast-paced, I mean like ultra light speed, like ridiculously, like speedometer off the charts. See how fast you could go on a hoverboard. Like, yeah, like faster than Titanfall, dude. Like, yeah, it's freaking crazy. So you basically go through this mini tutorial in the beginning, and it's cool because if you're co-oping with friends, all of you get to do it at the same time, and you go at your own pace. You get a hoverboard pretty much right out the gate, and it teaches you how to turn it on and off. You're pretty much 100% on the hoverboard the entire time you're playing this. You get various different weapons throughout. All the terrain is breakable. You could just explore everywhere in this game with a grapple. You get various different what is it called? Agility orbs throughout that you're collecting, and once you collect a certain amount, you get new perks added into your arsenal of movement, such as instead of just being able to jump once, you could do double jump, or your board goes faster if you hop off it and then hop onto it right before you hit the ground. Stuff like that. Your grapple has more charges, or it explodes when you attach to something. It's just really like down and dirty fun. Just constantly just flying everywhere in these little fights that you get into where there's like 80 enemies that you have to kill. They're constantly spawning. They have crit points on the big mechs. And you're just utilizing the entire terrain to your advantage to just kind of kill all the enemies. And when you get the more and more kills you get with each weapon, it levels up. You get more attachments on your guns, like the SMG gets a silencer or a scope. The grenade launcher gets more projectiles or stuff like that. It's like really, really cool stuff.
They do
a lot
some
of fun.
very silly attachments too. The first attachment the RPG gets is a sight. It doesn't need a red dot. That's not necessary.
The first
You get,
attachment you get on the shotgun's like a silencer, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this the game, Alex, that you said when you launch it, you're just immediately smiling until you shut it down? You're
Yeah,
smiling the
so-
entire time?
I think I said this last podcast actually, but like basically my cheeks start hurting by the end of the time we're done playing this game because I'm just grinning the whole time.
Which cheeks?
Both sets.
Yikes.
One because it's like
the whole time.
clenched because I'm like intense. The other because I'm like smiling the entire time. Also, I think I said this last time, but it's like the most freedom of movement in like any shooter I've ever experienced. It's so cool and so unique. And it's just so it's just an open world that you can explore at your leisure, and there's secrets hidden everywhere. And they just added workshop support to this game like yesterday.
Oh, nice. That's gonna be crazy.
From what I looked, the way the workshop levels integrate with the world is they just expand the existing map. So cool.
That's crazy.
Ben, you wanna defend Last
Yeah,
Epoch
sure.
here?
So Last Epoch's an action RPG. I think it is probably my favorite action RPG I have played to this day. I think it has very impressive mechanics. I love the way the classes feel. I think they're really distinct, which is something that, I mean, the big name Diablo 4, I feel like some of the classes in Diablo 4 lose that distinction a little bit. I mean, you've got like, oh, every class has got the big AoE damage, the ranged attack, the this. Last Epoch, as an example, it's the only RPG I'm aware of that you can build a dedicated support build. Like, you can build a support build in Last Epoch, and if you're playing with friends, it actually brings a lot of value to the team. And I think that's a really cool thing for an ARPG to do.
It's also a really convenient way to get Alex to play a game.
I know! Yet I haven't played it with him. But
We should
probably
play more
because
of
if Alex and I played it together, we would both argue over who got to be the support. But
Yes.
I think the mechanics feel really good when you're playing. It's smooth, it's not jumpy. The boss fights are amazing. I think they have interesting mechanics. A lot of, again, some other ARPGs, boss fights just turn into, hey, you just run up, spam your abilities on them until you die. I think they implement some things from MMOs that have done better, where the boss fights have actual mechanics you have to worry about. You have, minor things like, hey, somebody has to jump through this portal and do this thing while the people out here are doing this thing to the boss. There's more coordination involved in this game than a lot of the other ones I've played. I think that it's the people who made the game are working really well with the community. They update quite frequently, and they listen to the community a lot when they need to make changes. Another big win is that a lot of the stuff they offer, there's very few microtransactions in the game. I mean, again, you've got other ARPGs like, hey, do you have a stash where you store items? Great, but if you want more than 2 tabs, you're going to have to pay money. Last Epoch's just got 200 tabs. Just, you have them, whatever. And it does a good job of a go-between, in my opinion, between Diablo 4 and like Path of Exile, where it feels very good to play. It's very intuitive, but if you dig into some of the settings and stuff, you can get that complexity that you want from Path of Exile. Like, they've got the complicated loot filters you can build out. They've got the more complicated tweaking of your abilities you can do if you want. But if you just go through and play with the defaults, it feels great. It runs well, and you're sitting at like 90 to 95% efficiency still. Sure, you get that extra 5 to 10% if you go in and tweak everything, but you don't have to. Plays great just without it.
Okay. I think it's voting time.
How do we vote?
Great question. I don't even know.
Alphabetically.
Yeah, just go down the list, baby.
We're gonna go in inverse order because I've been starting. So we're starting with Jake, and we're gonna go backwards.
Don't start with me. I would
Oh,
love to
no.
abstain. These are I think, the only 2 games I've not played at all on our top list. So I'm gonna abstain if
Fair
I
enough.
can.
I
If
played
it's a tie, I
There's
can
a
run back in, I
tiebreaker
guess.
if there's a tie
Actually, it's an odd number. You
with
guys are
5
fine.
people.
Yeah, you guys are fine. Go on.
I was gonna say inconveniently we are 6 this year, so we're, like on any of these games where everybody is voting, it's gonna be difficult.
Don't worry, I got you, baby. I abstain this round.
I'm sure I'll go first then. It's gonna be Echo Point Nova for me. I played the demo. I liked it. I've not played since you guys. I think they came in, like, it launched to 1.0 towards the end of the year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I don't know that I can vote.
Does that mean that this is a more than 3-player co-op game?
I bet it is.
I think you can do 4, yeah.
Okay.
But you should dock it points for that, really. You should
I was
take it
gonna
off
say
the
I want to vote against it. Just
Too many players
Don't like
to
it.
co-op.
Well, you 3 should play it together. Highly recommend.
I'm gonna vote for Last Epoch, obviously.
Crazy.
Echo Point Nova for me. It doesn't seem like we're going in any orders.
I don't know.
Yeah, we were in
Well, we were.
alphabetical, but we just.
Well, he said reverse alphabetical, and then he
He
said,
said
okay,
reverse,
Aaron
and then he
next.
went,
And I
I
was
was
like, I guess we're
confused.
back to regular alphabetical?
Oh, I thought because Jake wasn't
It's
going, we're going to go
alphabetical to start
reverse.
with Jake.
You know
We're
what?
just gonna do
From
chaos.
now on,
Pure
from now
chaos.
on, we're going to do reverse alphabetical is what we're going to do. Jake's doing it every
Christ,
time.
I get the
every
first
time.
vote every time.
Oh gosh.
Okay, we'll move one slot up every
Yeah,
time. And then we'll
perfect.
vote. There we go.
There
So
we
Chad,
go.
you'll be voting first next time.
There it
So
is.
I feel like, I mean, I put Echo Point on my list, so I have to vote for it. I feel like if I played Last Epoch,
You'd like it?
I mean, yeah, because I like ARPGs. I liked Diablo. I played pretty. I think I'm like the only one here that really grinded Diablo.
Yeah, for
Uh-huh.
sure.
So I mean, I feel like it could be a game that I really appreciate. But like we were talking about earlier, seasons. I am not in an ARPG mood for right now. Burnt myself out on Diablo 4, so gotta go Echo Point Nova this year.
Yeah, I think I'm last now. So Echo Point Nova for me.
All right. That means Last
By
Epoch's
far,
going to
yeah.
be at slot number 10.
Sorry,
Look at
Jake.
Jake, can I sway you to vote for Last Epoch?
Absolutely.
Oh man, okay,
He's
Last
been
Epoch. How many
swayed.
votes?
It's 2-4.
I'll take it. It was nice.
So do we
having
keep
Last
Echo
Epoch.
Point up there and then we go from there? Is that how we're doing this?
That's how we did it last time, yes.
Let's do it.
oh.
All right. We are going to take more nominations for the left-hand side here.
How does this work? Is Last Epoch just 10 now?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be updated.
Mhm.
I don't know why it hasn't
I mean, we
updated yet.
can. Maybe we can revisit it.
Let me
I-
do a live suggestion. Actually, this is a
Christ.
live suggestion to change the format. At the end, I think we should have a final round where everybody looks at it, and you can argue whether one of the lower scores should be bumped up or down compared to one of the other lower scores.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
As
think
long
at
as
any
that's really
time-
hard for Aaron to do. That's all
Yeah.
I care about.
I think at any time we should be able to just argue something's in the wrong spot.
Fine with me.
Word.
I am taking nominations.
Nominations.
Also trying to figure out why it's not populating, which it was doing earlier. So, it's always something.
So
you know?
we'll take our time with the
Wait,
nomination.
Aaron, would it help if I turn my camera off and back on again?
Yeah, I don't think so. Sadly.
Well, my mic just fell off the boom swivel, so you know.
Jesus Christ.
Great.
It's all falling apart. What a year.
Man,
Oh.
why do I see
If-
Satisfactory highlighted here?
I kind of want to throw Satisfactory in there just because I don't like that kind of game, and it's only on one person's
Both of
list.
my games right at the beginning.
There is
Yeah.
a nomination.
Look, we used
This
to
is
have
what I get-
Owen to do
yeah.
this too. Now
Listen,
we gotta
I
do
was
it to
gonna
Ben.
say,
I'm
yeah.
I know where I stand. I know I'm pulling the listen. Ben comes in, he plays the games that nobody else is playing because
I
he's the
will
only one on the
say-
cast with good taste. I get it. I accept that's my role.
I think
Sure,
you are going to have more support than you expect for Satisfactory. I think I might be the only one on this cast who does not like this kind of game.
I don't normally. Also,
Okay, 2.
There you go. Do you want to give a Satisfactory spiel, Ben?
Sure. So, Satisfactory is a first-person game that is a factory builder, which I think effectively is its own genre, just because the two big ones in the genre are so famous, this and Factorio.
Mm-hmm.
Concept of the game, you get dropped down on an alien planet, and you are mining and getting resources in order to build effectively a factory. Your overall goal is you're trying to build a giant space station over the planet. And you do that by basically building a factory to automate production of resources, which that you can then use to research and go through an upgrade tree. And as you upgrade and research new things, it will then unlock new resources that you then have to build new factories for. And it becomes this game of planning where you're building your automation factories that then feed via conveyor belts or trains or drones into other factories, which are then all feeding together. You have to worry about powering everything, providing water, and mining the correct amounts to feed into your factory. It's definitely a game that I know I love this. This is my number one game of the year nominee because I love getting into the trying to optimize my factory for the correct amounts of inputs and outputs. I love trying to build it in an efficient way to save time. I really enjoy the aspects of making everything fit together and work together as good as possible. And then in addition to that, it's a beautiful game. It's got a huge world that you can explore, and that includes enemies that you have to fight and protect yourself from. It includes special resources you can collect and find in order to unlock new things that are not just cosmetics or just Easter eggs. They actually unlock useful things in the game. There's all different biomes that have different resources that you then have to plan around. I can get my coal from this biome way over here, and then I have to find a way to pipe it over to the next biome to feed my factories. You unlock different ways to explore the world as you go through. You get, jetpacks, you get hover packs, ways to just travel around. I think I get almost as much joy from just traveling around the world and finding cool stuff as I do from actually working on the factory aspect of it. In addition, on top of all that, I think the writing's really funny. There's not a whole lot of plot to it, but there's an AI character that talks to you most of the time, and the writing for it's hilarious. I think they really pull off the tone you're looking for of snarky AI that is from a corporation that doesn't really care about you, and she's a little too honest when she's talking to you about that. And it's just funny. There's just little one-liners that are thrown in here or there, and it's one of those things where you might do a thing in the world that you haven't done before, and there's a pre-programmed one-liner for that. And it's just, it's entertaining. It almost becomes what weird thing can I do that can prompt the AI to make a comment, because it's just funny. Literally, there are things you can do that the AI will get ticked off with you if you do the wrong thing too frequently. I just think every aspect of this game is well done. The factory aspect, the graphics, the writing, the exploration. I can't think of part of this game I am unhappy with, or I think they could have done better.
I can't, and it's not a bad, like a negative to the game. It's a negative to like the concept of this type of game, like a factory builder multiplayer game. I love the idea. Being in the middle of it though, with other people, it is. I can't handle it. I can't.
I will agree. I played this game solo.
Much better.
It's definitely a genre that I could see getting frustrating if you try to do this with multiple people. I think you have to having played other games like this multiplayer before, you have to set boundaries with the other players. Like, listen, here's the deal. We're not making a factory together. I'm going to make a factory over here that does this, and you go make your factory over there that does the other thing. We can connect later, but we are not working on the same thing.
I'll also never walk over there to see what you've done.
I was about to see, Aaron sees what you did, and he's like unhappy with it.
That being,
has to redesign it.
I can't do it, man.
Speaking as somebody who also, if I walked over there and going, this is so inefficient. Why would you do this? This is terrible. I feel like I would have the same issue if I was playing co-op, but like I said, I did play solo, so I didn't have that aspect of it.
So I don't think I've played this game in over 3 years, but when I did play it, I really liked the sort of, they had a constant short-term goal to reach, which I think adds a lot to these kind of games, especially for me. I need like short goals that I can keep achieving and it's not just like, hey, complete this chapter's research goals. It's like, listen, you gotta build this many of this factory, and then build this many of this resource, and then research this mini tier, and then stockpile so many. It does do a good job of like small goals that lead up to the big one. Yeah.
And on that point also, it does a really good job of every quote like chapters section of goal is like feed so many resources into the giant space station you're building. It does an excellent job of the resources you're building to complete that section are then immediately relevant for the next stuff you're building. And because you've had to build the infrastructure to complete the chapter, you already have it in place for the next stuff. I think all the parts lead into each other very well. It's never like, oh, here's your next mission. I'm like, I don't even know where to start with that. It's
Yeah.
always just like, okay, cool. I'm already doing like the first 75% of that. I just gotta, do the next part.
I heard
Uh,
that's true except for trains.
occasional guest on the
Trains are weird.
podcast, Frank. This is like by far his game of the year. He's like approaching 700 hours in this game.
Holy
He
shit.
plays solo though, right?
He plays solo,
Dude,
and
Get a
it's like-
job. What are you doing?
it's funny you say that because he will talk to me about how like he'll be at his job and then like think of something to make part of the factory more efficient, and he has a notebook that he has copious handwritten notes and design drawings all throughout
freaking love it.
for when he's
That's
away
so
from the
funny.
game.
I'm not that bad, but I do have a coworker who plays this too, and we will sometimes come in and like just suddenly be like, "What if we did this?" and then go off on a tangent for like
Oh
20
my
minutes talking
lord.
about it.
That's great.
Bunch of nerds. I vote against it just for that.
Yeah.
All right, voting time. Chad, you're first.
Man, I really respect Satisfactory, but I feel like there's a certain point. First of all, I'm never playing this game solo, so I'm always playing it co-op.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like you guys brought up a great point, which is just the frustration of trying to create something efficient and then it not happening in co-op. And like, there are stints of me playing this game. So like, I'll play it for like a week, be like, all right, I think I got the taste of Satisfactory, and be done with it. So I think because of that, this is tough because I feel like Echo Point's pretty, like, we're almost done with it. I mean, sure, the workshop stuff is introduced. That could be game changing for the replayability, because I think that goes into this vote a little bit, is the replayability. And I think Satisfactory has more replayability than Echo Point Nova, because once you clear an area, like, you pretty much don't have to go back to it.
And you can
But-
always optimize.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I have to go, just, because of my own pride, and I voted for it. Echo Point Nova. I think Echo Point Nova gets it for me.
Yeah, I feel a little bad I haven't played Satisfactory in 1.0. I would like to try it again. I just haven't gotten to it.
Solo.
But having played it previously, having played Echo Point all the way.
Ben.
Yeah, sure. I'm voting for Satisfactory. I'm gonna Echo Point Nova is in a spot where and this through no fault of its own, and maybe this is more of a personal preference sort of thing. I'm not big into purely multiplayer games that are like. I like there to be more of a story or more like long-term investment in a game. It's why I never played Overwatch too much or games like that, and similarly, it's why I don't play a lot of pure like roguelikes, because I like that long-term investment. I love roguelites that have that sort of meta progression outside of the game, but my knowledge of Echo Point Nova is, and I will admit I have not played Echo Point Nova, but my knowledge of it is mostly a multiplayer shooter of a sort.
It's all co-op. There's no. It's
It's
not
all co-op.
PvP. Yeah.
Okay, well then I misunderstood it.
I believe there is PvP that we
Oh,
just
there
haven't,
is PvP?
we just haven't dabbled into that.
I don't know why we
I mean,
would.
technically, you can be. There's like the perk that you turn on that turns on PvP mode.
Then, yeah.
No, nobody wants that.
It's not really a
Nobody
big
wants
thing.
that.
I think there's a mode though that you can actually
Is there
just
like
go
a?
in.
Is there like a team
I wasn't
deathmatch or
even aware of
something?
that.
I don't
That's
know.
the case. Yeah.
I'll have to go look.
Is it going to sway your vote, Ben?
No.
Okay,
I
so
You didn't vote for it.
It's entirely a single player
Satisfactory
and or
is my
co-op
game of
game.
the year, and there's nothing on our list that comes close for me. It's
Alex?
Yeah. As Chad said, I also respect Satisfactory, but I'm kind of like the opposite, where I don't want to play those games alone, like
I
at
don't
all.
either.
Oh, man. That's the only way to play them.
I know, but like also, I would get so bored by myself doing it.
Bruh.
Like it's
why
the
has
social
no one played
aspect.
Satisfactory with me on this cast? What is up with this?
The other part is
literally-
like I kind of don't want to. I just don't want to play it.
I think Jake, you have literally in person told me.
Literally,
Go ask the
every
guys to play
time Ben brings it
Satisfactory
up,
with
he's
you."
like, nobody on the cast likes these games. I'm like, literally everyone but me has played Satisfactory and has loved it.
I just
I've
only
played-
talk
What
to
do you mean?
Jake.
I've played
Yeah, that's the
Factorio
problem.
in
He's
a
like,
co-op
Jake,
group.
Satisfactory. I'm like, fucking shoot me in the head. There's no way.
I've played Satisfactory in a co-op group. I don't know. Frank's been trying to get me to play it, and I'm just like, I just don't. I have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the
I will
theme of
say,
this game of the year. Seasons
Yeah.
of
I haven't
games.
played it with Frank, but you do have to worry about games like this. If you try to jump in co-op with somebody who's been playing a ton of it,
Oh yeah.
Mm,
it's like, oof.
yeah.
But I'm for sure voting Echo Point Nova.
Satisfactory for me all the way. But Jake,
Okay, I lied last time when I said those were the only 2 games I hadn't played. I haven't played Satisfactory either.
you're
But I
abstaining.
guarantee
Wow.
you, if
You
I played
prefer Echo
Satisfactory, I
Point
would hate
Nova.
it. Just I don't like that kind of game. I feel bad. I mean, I'll abstain, but I think the result is the same.
The result is the
It's the
same.
same, yeah.
Satisfactory takes number 9.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna log off. Both my games out of the running.
Hey, you
My
got another one in
apologies,
here.
Ben.
You got another one in here.
Oh man. All right, taking
I-
nominations.
Just one more, but you got one more in here.
It's not my game. It's a game I agree is fun.
Mm.
I mean, do we just keep going up the list, or
we can. I mean, or you could just be bold and be like,
I-
no. I'm going to nominate something from way up there.
Let's nominate Prince of Persia.
Prince
I
of
think that's
Persia?
fine, actually.
Okay, all right.
That's gold.
I really wanted Prince of Persia to be higher on people's lists, and that's totally fine because it's not a game for everybody. But I am really angry that Ubisoft just completely abandoned this IP.
Yeah.
And I, more than anything else, that's what makes me frustrated with this game. I loved this game. I mean, the moment I started playing, I could not freaking put a controller down. I just, start to end, freaking loved this game. And for them to just be like, yeah, no, it's just not worth it. It is just mind-boggling to me. What a great
Ubisoft's
IP.
doing like a speed run to like run their company into the ground.
Seriously.
I mean, genuinely though, Ubisoft, man, we don't have time to get into Ubisoft, but God, they frustrate me so much.
Yeah. I think the combat in this was one of the most polished games I played all year. Like the moment it was dropped, it was polished. There were
Yeah.
like no bugs for me. It was crazy.
Mhm.
Combat feels incredibly tight. The story is excellent. The map exploration is really cool. Like the Prince of Persia universe is just also really neat. Like the story behind it. I just love this game. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just really excellent game, and it has all the things you want. It has really complicated combat. It's at parts. It has cool puzzly mechanics for jumping puzzles. It has really, really intense and unique storytelling with this like crew of, I don't even know what you would call them. They're just
I
fighters
think they were
essentially.
called Immortals in the
Yeah.
game.
Oh
The
yeah,
Immortals.
okay, yeah. Man,
Great boss fights.
great boss fights.
The boss fights are so epic.
They're
I
so
was really
good.
impressed with the boss fights, and I know you mentioned the parkour. The platforming in this game is wild. It's so good. It flows so well.
Yep.
It's flashy but still like readable.
Mm-hmm. And it's still precise. Like
Yes.
none of it felt flowy and
Mm.
just light. It all felt like really snappy, but at the same time, it still looked really good.
Yeah.
It also introduced some really good improvements on the Metroidvania style
Oh yeah.
with screenshots of locations.
Thank
that
you. We
can
got to
store.
talk
crazy.
about that.
Oh
The
my
smartest
gosh.
fucking thing I've ever
So
seen.
good.
Crazy.
So good.
Like, there must be another game that's done that, but this is the first game I've played with it, and it's so smart to just be
So
like,
smart.
man, why didn't I progress down this hallway? And just being able to look at it and be like, oh yeah, I need like the double jump to go here or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to mark it with an obscure mark and be like, okay, this mark means I need double
Yeah.
jump. I think
I don't need my own legend of what symbols mean. I
Correct.
don't need to walk all the way across the fucking map and get there and go, oh yeah, I needed the double jump. Well, I guess I'll come back here in 5 more hours.
Mm-hmm.
I
Additionally,
so smart.
I don't think there's a single power in this game that's not used both in and out of combat.
Mhm.
I think they use them all of them in both,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool because a lot of Metroidvanias you get abilities just out of combat, abilities that are just in combat.
For sure.
And,
And
this
also-
one's not at all the case.
the way like they introduce those abilities, and then the next boss combat you have, it forces you to
Oh, yeah.
use it, like specifically use it, but also use all of the things you've already learned. It does such a good job of like progressing you through boss battles, and Again, I'm just baffled. I'm so mad about it. I have not even bought the DLC and played it because I'm like, I'm not gonna. No, I'm just not doing it. I'm just angry at this point.
I mean, genuinely, it's a good game because Ubisoft abandoned it as fast as they could.
Yeah.
If it was mediocre, they would have supported it.
Yeah, I mean, how's Skull and Bones doing? It's still going,
Yeah,
right?
like genuinely, God.
Freaking Skull and Bones.
It's
what
fine.
a
It's fine.
game.
We don't have time for this.
All right, unless anybody has anything else to say, I think it's voting time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Caleb.
I'm going Prince of Persia. I had so much fun playing Prince of Persia.
One of those similar spots where I have not played either of them, but I think of the two, I would probably prefer Echo Point Nova. Also, Echo Point Nova beat my games, so I want to go all the way.
Going all the way now.
Oh,
Game of the
man.
year.
All the way to the top.
Game
Alex?
of the year right here.
Uh,
VPN.
I really loved Prince of Persia when I played it, and then there's another game that's going to come up on this list that made me think a lot less of it, I think, later on.
Yeah.
We won't say names.
But, man, Echo Point Nova is just pure bliss, man.
Oh
Love
my
it.
gosh.
Gotta vote Echo Point.
All right, Prince of Persia for me. Jake.
I feel kind of bad because I didn't play Echo Point Nova, but I did really like Prince of Persia, so I'll do Prince of Persia.
Okay, it's
Chad?
made by the fact that I
Okay,
didn't play
so
either, and I voted Echo
If
Point.
I said Echo Point, what happens?
Great question.
I think the nominating person just lets their game, like, depending
I
on
think-
like what rank it is, the highest rank.
We can try to debate it,
Or we can
and
debate.
if that doesn't make it, I don't know. We turn off the podcast. We go home.
I mean, we could kick Ben's vote out since he didn't play either of them.
We could. We could also just be like, oh, it's a tie. I guess we'll just move it down and put Satisfactory there instead.
Makes sense to me.
The only logical option. But no, yeah, we can kick mine out since I didn't play either. That seems like a fair way to do it for this round.
So I'm kind of conflicted here. That's the thing.
Oh,
Because I feel like Prince of Persia The Lost Crown is probably the first ever Metrovania that I actually got a little bit into.
Heck yeah.
that's big praise.
Yeah.
Like I can't get into these types of games, but Prince of Persia, I was like, okay, I got through some of the bosses. Like, I didn't finish it though because once again, it got to the point where I had to go all over the map, go different locations, and I'm like, like what? No, I'm good.
Sure.
Oh, that's why I don't play Metroidvanias.
So I will have to say, I think it is a very good game, but I think I have more fun in Echo Point Nova, so I have to go with Echo Point Nova.
That means a Prince of Persia goes. Is that correct? Prince of Persia goes down.
Think
Where's
so.
that? Control
It
C.
goes
there.
to 8.
I'm gonna probably have to make that shorter title. We'll see. Oh yeah, Prince of Persia.
Love it. I mean, that gets
I
the
think-
point
Just
across.
put Pop the Lost
Yeah,
Crown.
yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly what I was doing.
Is that right?
Oh right. Say what?
I mean, not that I'm gonna argue because I like Echo Point, but is that right?
What'd you vote for?
Echo Point, and Chad voted
Yeah,
Echo Point.
everyone voted for Echo Point. What do you mean?
Jake-
Is that right?
Jake, what did you vote for?
Jake, Caleb,
I
and
voted
Aaron
for
all
Pop,
voted
but we
for.
discounted Ben's.
Oh, so it's 3 then, because it's you, me, and Caleb voted for Prince of Persia, and
Yeah.
Alex and Chad voted for Echo Point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
What are you
then-
doing with your
okay.
fingers down there,
And then-
keeping track of stuff?
And then Ben voted Echo Point, and
Ben
Ben
We,
voted
voted
Echo
we
Point.
got to
But
the
we're-
end and then we
we're
did
discounting
negative
me.
points. I don't know.
Right.
We could leave it like this. I'm totally happy.
I'm sure you are. All right, Echo Point Nova goes at number 8, actually.
Yeah, get his ass.
All right, nominations.
I feel like we have to nominate Nine Souls because
I
you
was
know.
literally just thinking that. I want to put 9 Souls here.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, looking at our
Yeah, that's
numbers,
fair.
I think we know it's going to win.
Yeah,
But I wanna have
that's a
this
fair
conversation.
comparison. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to have this debate.
Okay, hold on, let me, because I got to go all the way back to the front. There we go.
Mhm, mhm.
Wild pool.
I also want to do it just to make it as difficult as possible for Aaron.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we're there. Who wants to talk about this game? Caleb, it was your top, right?
Yeah, I'll talk about Nine
It's your
Souls.
goat.
It's my goat.
Dang.
Well, it's not the goat. It's just the goatee.
Mhm.
Okay, fair enough.
So Nine Souls is a Metroidvania, much in the same vein of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. But the combat is heavily parry based, which is something I've always very much enjoyed. And I think they do some of the best parrying sort of mechanics that I've seen in a 2D game. The map itself is really, really fun to explore. There's actually not a ton of returning to places in this game, I feel like. It's actually surprisingly
Linear?
Yeah, linear, I would say. Man, there are some absolutely stellar boss fights in this game. There's this one called Lady
Ethereal?
Ethereal.
Bro.
That part of the game is just mind-blowingly good. That's spoilers. I think this game is just so well designed in almost every aspect. I know there is one downfall for this game, and that is the final boss difficulty curve, because it ramps up real hard in difficulty. It is crazy.
Do you agree it's a downfall, or you just say that because of me?
I enjoy that boss fight so much, but I recognize that is not a great design choice to do that, and that it'll turn a lot of people off.
Okay, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember, but the last time when we set these things, this game was not even on my radar. I was like, I'd played like a couple hours or whatever, and you kept saying you gotta play 9 Souls, and I'm like,
yeah, I saw it shut up your list.
I went down to Florida for work, and I had nothing to do, so I just took my Steam Deck, and I literally played the entire game from start to finish in like 6 days. This game is freaking phenomenal. Good suggestion. I think my only comment about the final boss fight is that I think the difficulty scale is good for a 2-phase. I think it is bad when you add the 3rd phase. I think that is it. That is my only stipulation on why I think the boss fight is poorly executed. 2-phase, great. 3rd phase?
When I was fighting her, I didn't realize there was like an option. I had a 3-phase boss that I was looking at, and I was like, man, that 3rd phase is just so rough.
And it's hard to get to anyway.
You have to beat 2 other phases first that are also really hard. So like to be able to practice the attacks that are literally invisible, that just like teleport across the screen, and you just have to know the timing. You just have to get there a bunch of times. It's so bad, so rough.
Yeah, that one attack is just it's bad. But that's it. The rest of it, freaking love. Lady Ethereal sold this game for me.
Lady Ethereal is so
that's
good.
My favorite boss. Yeah,
absolutely crazy boss fight.
Yeah, if it wasn't spoilers to talk about, man, I would just gush about that fight. It's so good.
It's game of the year. I feel like if you want to do a spoiler, do it.
Nah, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it.
All right. Let me hit you with this. So we have 2 parry-based Metroidvanias with really good boss fights. Why should the game that you guys like beat the other one? That's what I want to know. Because I got halfway through both of these games. I put 9 Souls on my list, but I feel like I could kind of go either way. So I'm curious to hear why you guys prefer one over the other.
Kind of in Jake's shoes right now.
Yeah.
I enjoy the setting and story a lot more in 9 Souls.
Okay.
I also enjoy the kind of upgrade mechanics in 9 Souls better. I think the upgrades are a lot more... I feel like a lot of the upgrades in Prince of Persia are like just new combos you can do.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, which is fine. But in 9 Souls, I feel like some of them can drastically change the way you're approaching combat entirely.
Yeah.
Like the final boss, for instance, I had been using a specific... So there's like a move where you dash through enemies and you leave like I forget what they call it. Talisman on them. And then it explodes. And there's like a couple different options for how that works. So there's one that like you can charge it up and it does more damage, but you have to stand there still charging it. And there's another one where you just drop it on them and it'll explode after a delay. The final boss, I had played the whole game with the charge one until I got to the final boss, and there's just no time to get it off. So I had to change to the other one, and it like completely changed how I approached that boss.
I used the key blast, like the one you start with.
Oh yeah.
There are two openings on the final boss that allow you to like get it off without taking damage, and then if you have your tree fully upgraded, you can get more of the Azure Sand back. You can constantly have an arrow to stun during like the hardest to dodge attacks that she does. Yeah.
I like. I think everything is. Both these games are super polished. I will say. I think everything in Nine Souls is more polished than everything in Prince of Persia. Like, and also you can't really compare the two because they're very different art styles. But I like the art style of Nine Souls better.
I mean, art style is always going to come down to personal preference, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I just think the combat is like way tighter. Like Prince of Persia can feel floaty
Which
at
is-
times.
Whoa.
Kind of crazy because Prince of Persia's already got, I feel like, pretty
just gotta
tight
say, it's
combat.
pretty tight.
It's pretty good, but it's like it's no Nine Souls. Like some of like the sequences, especially like Lady Ethereal and bosses like that, can feel like you're watching a cutscene almost, but you're doing all the things, and it feels super super good to like nail, like triple parry into like a counterattack or something. It's super cool, and I also like the characters and the story a lot better in Nine Souls. Is way more interesting. I think I think the story in Prince of Persia is like good for a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
But it's like pretty predictable and surface level in the end. Whereas Nine Souls gets so crazy. And
It really does. Yeah. It's
There's a
great
lot
story.
of
It does
story
a
beat
lot.
drops at the end. You're just like, what?
And it also works a lot harder to make you connect with each of the characters. So
Yeah, the characters
that's-
have a lot of personality in that game.
Yeah.
I remember Prince of Persia, there's one character, the girl with the mask, she just like disappears like a third of the way in the game. You never see her again. Ever. Like, what? Where did she go?
Aaron, I know
Yeah,
Prince of Persia was your GOTY.
it was. Because I couldn't find anything wrong with it. To me, that's why it's my
Sure.
GOTY.
Okay,
And,
so what did you find wrong with Nine Souls?
the third part of the third phase
Wow.
of the final boss.
Okay,
That's
so
literally
like-
it.
Okay,
That's the
it.
difference for me.
It
Damn,
is
that's how
a
fine
blemish,
the
I
line
think.
is.
It is a
Interesting.
really bad blemish on the game.
Okay. Interesting.
Prince of Persia also does have stuff going over for Nine Souls. Like it has the screenshotting locations to
Yeah.
go back.
Oh, man.
Granted, Nine Souls, like I said, there's not a lot of
Not as much.
returning
For-
locations.
For what it's worth, I finished Nine Souls a while ago at this point, and I keep on thinking about that game, and I think less and less about frustration of the final boss. More space I get from when I played it.
It's called recency bias, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Read a book.
I also feel like
Usually recency bias is like you're in favor of something, but it's more like I was mad at the game when I played it recently, and I'm less mad now.
I think
also think Nine Souls, is just
You're
a
good, you're
little bit more difficult in general.
yes,
I
it
feel
is.
like Prince of Persia, a lot of the base enemies that are just around don't pose any threat. In Nine
Sure.
Souls, there are a lot of enemies that are just nearby that can murder you real fast.
Yep.
I like that. I could see that being bad too.
I like that. It keeps me on touch. That's like the complaint I had with Black Myth Wukong is like
Too
You
easy.
know. too
For
easy in between
gamers.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's voting time, then.
It's voting time.
right.
Let's see who's up first.
I believe
Ben.
Is it Ben?
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I've only played one of these games, and the one I played, I only played about 45 minutes of it. So I'm gonna say abstain unless we need,
Got it.
Unless we need a tiebreak.
Tiebreaker.
Well, we're not going to with 5 people, so
We
Someone else
shouldn't,
could
yeah.
abstain.
Yeah.
that's true. I doubt it. I think all of you have played both of these, so
I'm voting Nine Souls.
Man, it's okay. It's just so close for me. The boss fight is just what
Mhm.
makes me. Anyway, it's Prince of Persia for me.
Oh crap! It comes back to me.
It does come back to you.
I'm gonna go Nine Souls. It's tough. It's close.
I feel like I can abstain here. I feel like I know what Caleb's gonna say.
I mean, Nine Souls all the way. Nine
Yeah,
Souls
that's
is my
fair.
GOTY.
Yeah,
Granted,
yeah,
Prince of Persia was my 5th, I think. So
yeah.
Well, good news.
There
Now
it
I don't
is.
have to worry about Lost Crown anymore, and I can just shove Nine Souls all the way to the very top. Got it. Check. Got it on lock.
Yeah, too good an opportunity.
All right. Voting for 6th position. We're gonna put Helldivers in here. I don't
got it
think it
right.
goes
It's probably
above
time.
anything else on this list. So
I feel like we've been putting it off for too long. It's got to go here, right?
yeah. Who wants to talk about Helldivers? No one? Does no one want to talk about Helldivers?
I can take it, I guess.
You want to take it?
Helldivers is a hyperbolic marine simulator. Talking about super capitalism and stuff like that, like, you know, super democracy.
For freedom.
You are a number that gets dropped on a planet. You pretty much don't even have a name. Like, you are going to be multiple different Marines in one playthrough. When you die, they just send another Marine to take your place. And you just have a squad of 4, and you just go around, you know, blowing up bugs and bases and, you know, automatons and what the new enemy that I haven't even actually played yet.
The Illuminate.
The Illuminate. That was in the first game, right?
Mhm.
I think so.
Yeah. So they took the first Helldivers, which was top down, kind of, you know, eagle eye view, where it was twin stick shooter, and then they made it into a third person shooter, which worked really well.
Yeah.
The system is great. The stratagems are all really fun to use. The weapons feel really crisp and clean. And it's just you know, you work your way up the difficulties and you know, keep just doing mission after mission and upgrading your stuff. You know, going through I think was it a free battle pass or did you pay for it?
The first one was free.
Yeah. Okay. So there's like the free battle pass that you get like different weapons and stuff out of it. And then you can also, you know, as you're going down and getting the resources and stuff, you go to the different workbenches and get more weapons or stratagems, or, you know, it's cool stuff. It's cool. Changes the gameplay a little bit. It's a good time.
They've also been really good about community updates. They've been
Man.
updating this game constantly since it released, adding new mission types, a new faction at this point, new weapons and armor. They've been really keeping up to date.
I think there's like two aspects, like the gunplay, how you just barely feel like you're in control at all times. They nail the razor's edge of you not feeling like you can't shoot anything, but also not feeling like you're totally in control at all times. And then at the same time, the exact same razor's edge on like just controlling the battlefield, how like you can feel like you're totally gonna get overwhelmed and you just barely pull out, like, you know, a stratagem or something to clear just enough of a path that you escape narrowly, and it's always just razor thin margins. And
Or Alex just has a jetpack and leaves everybody to their fates, you know.
The stratagem, man.
they just do a super good job balancing that stuff and just making you feel like everything can go so wrong at any second.
I will say this game delivers on all the things you wanted to deliver on. Just across the board. The voice lines they have, they're so absolutely ridiculous. The overarching like campaign that's going on in the solar system and kind of being a part of something much, much bigger. The moment to moments you guys were talking about, it just delivers. This game it slaps. It's great. And the replayability it's definitely there.
Oh yeah.
Solid game. Voting time.
Well, might I suggest this goes up against something else?
I was also going
Ooh.
to suggest that because I feel like if we just start voting against Nine Souls constantly,
Yeah.
it's gonna be weird.
What's the second? What's the other one?
I was going to recommend Marvel Rev.
That does feel like a thematic rival. All right, I'm done.
All right.
Good pass, boys.
Nice. All
Okay.
right. Well, who wants to talk about Marvel Rivals then?
I can do it.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't talked about anything so far. So this is like the positive timeline for Overwatch 2. Just a freaking good hero shooter. Like, genuinely, this game has no right to be as good as it is. It's just fun. I don't know how they pulled it off, but it is. It's more balanced than you would expect for a game that doesn't seem to give a shit about balance.
Yeah.
All the
That's a great way to
characters-
put that.
Like, yeah, right? Like, you play a character like, wow, this is busted. And then you play another character like, wow, well, actually, this is busted.
People who permanently fly, it's like, there's no way that's balanced in any way.
Right? That doesn't make
It's
any
fine.
fucking sense.
It's just fine.
Yeah, it just works out, I guess. I mean, the competitive scene has bans, which probably helps a lot with that, because I feel like the high end is where that kind of stuff really ends up hurting you. But, like, all the characters are just fun to play. They feel genuine to their, like, the fantasy, to use Overwatch terminology, right? Like, the gameplay fantasy of, like, oh, Captain America, yeah, I'm gonna run around, I'm gonna punch Nazis. Hell yeah, you get to do that. It just freaking works, dude. It's fun. I feel like it really has put the emphasis on the fun rather than the emphasis on, like, competitive balance, which feels like more what Overwatch did. And a big part of why that game fell apart
Even
is
though
that
it was incredibly unbalanced a lot of the time, Overwatch, especially Overwatch 2.
Overwatch was constantly unbalanced, which is why it was wild that was where they decided to spend all their time and effort.
Yeah.
This game, I don't know, I feel like it's just constantly fun, constantly good. Ton of fun, different characters to play. They all play different from one another.
Like you said, it's like there's no reason for it to be so good. Like, it's from a Chinese developer you would assume would mess up the monetization, and it's totally fine. It's you know, like a Marvel as the IP, which you would assume would just be like shovelware slop.
Absolutely.
And it plays great, and you know, I don't know, it's crazy. It's just so crazy that it came out and is so good. Like, everybody thought this game was gonna fail when the trailer first came out.
100%.
Also, they've managed to not butcher any of the characters, which I'm very surprised by.
Dude, like, I know I started this doing the same thing. It's so easy to say that this is just an Overwatch clone, but you look at a character like Moon Knight, and it's like, oh, that's actually... I don't think I've ever played a character quite like Moon Knight before, where they have like an AoE, like a ricochet move, and they can kind of get around aiming by just putting down this thing that they can aim at. Like, it's such an interesting mechanic that I genuinely don't know that I've ever seen before.
And he's
certainly
also
not a
like,
multiplayer game.
He's built as a counter to a common style of gameplay, which is like group up and huddle together, which other games just don't have. Like, a lot of the balancing decisions they've decided are really, really clever.
You can't play goats against Moon Knight, or else he'll instantly get his ultimate, and you'll instantly be fried. Like,
Speaking of goats, Wolverine. The fact that Wolverine's there at launch just means, like, because it doesn't have, like, roll lock, right? You can have as many tanks as you want. And in Overwatch, that's part of what killed Overwatch for a while was, oh, we can run whatever we want. Okay, we'll run 3 tanks and 3 supports and no one will ever die. But Wolverine is a character who just says, oh, you have a lot of health? Fantastic. I'm going to do 1,000 damage every hit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what a clever idea
so excited
to make
when there's
that...
more than one tank.
Yeah, right? It immediately makes that playstyle not work, right? Because if they run that, you just go, okay, I'll play Wolverine, and now I've turned that off.
Yeah,
Like,
that actually, arguably, like, roll Q will be bad if that stays, because then you'll have 2 tanks every single time, and you can't switch off of it, and Wolverine will just be able to do what he wants to do.
Genuinely, I don't think they should. I think they should leave it freeform. I think that's part of what has been fun about this, is the freeform nature.
And it's like, oh wow, they have a freaking awesome Wolverine on the team. Maybe we roll 4 DPS. I don't know.
Yeah, like that feels like throwing, but we shut him down just by our picks.
Like, I also always bring up the way Hawkeye is balanced. Widow's a huge problem in Overwatch and kind of always has been. She has her, like, charge up to be able to headshot somebody for one shot. The way they do it on Hawkeye is similar. He has to charge up, but he can't just stare at a choke and charge up and be ready for the support to walk out. He has to track an enemy first to at least, you know, charge that ability up, then he can headshot somebody. So it's like he has to actually do something to get that ability. It's not like super difficult to get it, but it's at least like an added layer of complexity, you know?
Yeah. Also, they just have melee characters. And speaking as someone who can't aim, having a damaging melee character, it's just fun. Like, I'm still really bad at them, but Magic is a fucking blast, as is Iron Fist. Cool designs, fun to play.
Like, Cloak and Dagger being 2 separate characters in one that you can swap between, so freaking cool. What a good idea.
Yeah, I genuinely don't understand how this game came to be because it felt like it should have been such shovelware slop, but it's just good. I don't know.
And
Wild.
like just the concept behind Cloak and Dagger, like they are two separate Marvel characters that pretty much exclusively appear together in stories. So they came up with a reason through their unique lore to actually merge them. So like if you go read their story in the game, it talks about how the entanglement of the universes happened while Cloak was teleporting Dagger, which he often does, and it caused them to become permanently entangled. So now only one of them can take up like space at a time. They have to allow each other to exist.
Where does the other one go?
Hell.
Like they just like dimensionally don't exist for a while.
It's like being snapped.
Like the matter, they can only exist
it's like being blackout
in one
drunk for a
copy of
minute.
matter at a time.
Hell
It's
yeah.
very cool. And that's another thing is like just the way they're doing story stuff. It's like they're not doing elaborate cinematics, which is maybe slightly disappointing, but the amount of pure writing that is in the game is crazy. Like you can go read for a couple hours in that game.
The cinematics that they have released are just like super awesome anime trailer style, like epicness.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see how they like resolve. Like this season is against Dracula.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does the end of that look like? Do they do something like it could be really cool? It could be really lame. Obviously, we don't know yet what that's gonna look like. But I feel like they could do something really cool with that, right? Like some cool cinematic where the Fantastic Four team up to take down Dracula.
Like
So, just a quick tangent on that. There's the image of the white statue-looking guy. They're talking about that probably being Black Panther because in one of the comics he gets turned into a vampire by Dracula, and he has just arrived in New York to help the Fantastic Four against them.
in the lore, yeah.
That could be interesting.
Cool
They could
lore.
do something fun with that.
The other
Here's
thing,
sure
other
that
thing
does
that-
something with the lore.
yeah.
Wild.
The other thing that's in the lore is they talk about how Blade showed up in New York to fight Dracula because he hunts vampires, and he got captured by Dracula and is being held in some dungeon right now. So like we're gonna get Blade as a character, like almost certainly at some point. Like they'll break him out of the dungeon and he'll be playable.
Yeah, that goes into the speed at which they're releasing content is pretty cool. There's 33 characters already at launch. Wasn't it like 10 from beta basically that they added or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
between
10 after the
beta and
beta,
release,
that's
they
right.
added 10,
Yeah.
and then season 1 they're releasing 4.
I think they also I could be wrong on this, but I think I read an article that they have suggested that every 45 days, that's when they'll be releasing new heroes.
That's
instead
crazy.
Of instead of it
Be a
being like,
Wild,
thing to
right?
upkeep.
They said they're gonna release 2 heroes per season, one at the beginning and one at the halfway point.
The really nice part, though, is the depth of content they have at their disposal to create
Yes.
heroes
Oh,
for
yeah.
this game
Mhm.
is crazy. And
Mhm.
all you
They
have to
got
do is,
so much.
and I know this sounds, I mean, it's a steep ask, but all you have to do is figure out how to balance them. That's it. You already know what their abilities are because they're already in the lore. It's already in the story. You have to figure out how to balance that with the rest of the way that the game works. And I think it's what's crazy to me is it's taken so long for something like this, like
To happen.
specifically in Marvel Universe, to happen.
Sure.
Because there's just so much content, so much availability to do something like this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For reference, like Overwatch 2, when they were like, oh, we're going to keep up with content releases, guys. We're going to release a new hero every other season. That's what they are doing. One hero every other season. And then Marvel comes out and they're like, we're going to do 2 a season, I think.
I mean, I guess we'll see, right? This is the first season.
Sure.
They could be
I mean,
full
how
of
long they
shit.
keep up.
Season
But
1
also-
is double the content. They're releasing 4.
I feel like the premium, like the content you get from like the battle passes. Overwatch is my only point of reference. This feels very generous compared to Overwatch, which I
Also,
got
they
through the whole battle
don't
pass
go
and it was
away.
like,
Which is
yes,
the
oh
super
my
generous
God,
part.
Can we
I
talk
think.
about
Yeah.
that real quick? You buy a battle pass and you just get to keep it. You don't. It's not like a limited time thing. You just get to grind it out whenever you have time. So if I buy it and then I'm busy for the rest of the month or the rest of the 2 months, whatever, I don't just miss out on the content I paid for. I still get to get it.
That's
That's
really
so
nice.
That's
That's
so
really
good.
nice. Is it voting time?
I think it is.
Let's see. Who's up first? Is this Alex?
It's Alex, baby.
Alex, all right.
These are both games that are on my list, so it's rough.
That's an
but
easy
man,
choice, right? You have
Yeah,
one
one's higher than
rated
the other,
higher
yeah.
than the other.
Yeah, it's true. Rivals is rated higher. I freaking love Rivals, man. It's so good. I think Helldivers 2 is one of the greatest co-op games to come out in recent years, but Rivals, I think, is going to be my vote.
Rivals for me.
I'm going Rivals.
Wait, what are you? What?
Wrong order.
All right.
What are you
That's how
doing,
we
man?
That's how we do it. Now it's Chad's turn.
Jeez.
I don't know.
Well,
what,
hey.
Alex, Aaron, I assume down. Whatever. I don't understand
Maybe
the order.
Jacob and me.
It would
That's
have looped
reverse.
down to me.
Reverse alphabetical.
I'm
Yeah. If it's me, I'm gonna go Rivals.
Well, then it's over.
I mean, yeah, that is
Yeah.
it, but
No, I didn't vote yet.
yeah.
I wasn't
Ben gets
supposed
two
to,
this time.
so you know.
Would anyone
Man.
have said Helldivers? I'm curious.
Me.
Caleb, okay.
Really? Okay.
I
Maybe two.
Man, yeah, I feel like we need to get a couple months out because this could be recency bias. Rivals
Oh, yeah.
is like
Yeah.
my
Could
addiction
be.
right now,
And
right?
Helldivers came out
Yeah.
quite a while ago. February, I think,
right.
maybe?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
it was
of the
February.
two. I think I think Helldivers is just such a great game, and I feel like I had more fun playing Helldivers than I have had playing Rivals.
Yeah, that's
with
right.
the with the laughter and the situations that happen, and
There's such
It's
tense combats at the end
Yeah.
of missions that are just so much fun.
Yeah.
it's hard to compare things. I feel like for you, especially Chad, because you're such a competitive game player. For
Yeah.
you to compare
Mhm.
something that's just PVE versus PvP, because
right?
you're in two different headspaces. I think when you
Yeah.
play those games. Me, I'm just like floating around regardless. You know, I'm like,
Yeah,
like
I'm
whatever.
over here trying to get Grandmaster and Rivals,
Yeah.
so of course I'm going to vote for it probably. But
Yeah, you're
like,
freaking
Helldivers
sweating.
2 was just like, let me get a group of 4 people together. Oh, I just killed you with a stratagem. Like, oh, holy crap! Like, I mean, it's good fun. Like,
Yeah, it's great fun.
good.
all right, taking nominations for 5th slot because Helldivers 2 made number 6 on our top 10.
Is this where Caleb, do we get rid of ReFantasio here?
I mean, I don't want
Yeah.
to, but
I don't either. We could get rid of Tactical Breach Wizards here potentially.
I mean, if you want to take
think
it
it's one
away
of
from
those two.
somebody from you two, since you guys both played those games, somebody who hasn't played those games, I could go for Wizards.
Yeah, I would also nominate Tactical Breach Wizards.
We can talk about Breach Wizards here.
Whoop, wrong one.
That's how dare you.
Got it.
I can talk about this. Was actually my GOTY, so I can talk about Tactical Breach Wizards. We've been talking a lot about seasons. Man, this game just hit exactly when I needed it to hit. I was in a mood for a tactical game, and this game came out. I was like, oh, this is like a fun tactical game. And then it's like, oh, actually, the writing's also really good, and the characters are really good, and the story's really good. And yeah, it just freaking hit for me. I don't know. Like, does it deserve to be my GOTY? I don't know. Like, maybe if I was more, objectively speaking, maybe it doesn't. But I love this game. It came out of nowhere. It hit me exactly where I needed it to hit me, and I love it. Really, really good tactics game. I love the way that the tactics are room-based. Means that you don't run into one of the big problems I have with, like, XCOM is I load into XCOM, it's like, okay, spend 5 turns walking across this empty map, walk into an enemy you didn't see, die immediately. This game is like, no. It's this one room. You see everyone who's in this room, and we'll tell you exactly what they're going to do. Figure out how to navigate this scenario, given all of these characters with their unique abilities. And it's just fun. It feels almost more puzzly than tactics, maybe. But I personally enjoy it.
especially on the higher difficulties.
Yes.
I was gonna say, like the little that I did play, it gave me vibes of like Hard West 2 because that's very much
Sure.
so. It's not a tactics game, turn-based tactics game. It's more of a tactical puzzle game, trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to get from point A to point B
Mhm.
in the most efficient way possible.
Yeah. This game made me laugh so much. The writing is so fantastic.
It is absolutely stellar.
Also, I'm gonna spoil a brief thing, but it's my favorite freaking thing in the game. Your medic, she doesn't heal people. She is a necromancer. So the way that she heals people, she's the only character you control who has an actual firearm. The way she heals people is she shoots them in the head and then brings them back from the dead.
So good.
Fucking love her.
She's amazing.
It is so funny.
In addition to the story being really good in this game, a lot of things, a lot of the abilities of the characters have massive story impact, and sometimes you have to be kind of the force behind figuring out what that is in order to move the story forward, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, there's a few, like, I know the moments you're talking about, Caleb, where, like,
Yep.
the story only progresses once you figure out this kind of, like, novel application of their ability.
Yes. Yeah.
Wait, so like what happens in the meantime?
I mean, it's basically
you're in, like, a combat.
You're stuck, like, there's a combat that's like, wow, this is really tough. I don't know how I'm going to deal with that enemy. And you need to sort of, like, think through, like, oh, well, what if I did this?
Okay.
And then you sort of, like, figure out how to beat it, essentially.
It's really hard to explain without spoiling.
Yeah,
and you
right.
don't really want to spoil
I
it.
won't
It's
spoil
really good
that.
moment.
It's like,
particular
yeah,
one.
okay. I wasn't understanding that was like during a combat. I was like,
You're just in the middle of a level, and it's like, okay, this enemy is borderline impossible unless you figure out this one little thing.
interesting.
It's got a nice piece. So you play as a private detective essentially, and it's got a piece in between each of the missions where you have like a red string board, and you're like moving the pieces around so you can kind of keep track of what's happening, which I think is a nice touch. It's not like annoying to do.
It's like a fun little thing.
Yeah. It's also refreshing to play a game where you know, Tactical Breach Wizards, you're like, oh, this is going to be like a very pro cop game, but it's like you don't even kill people. Everyone lives. You do non-lethal takedowns the whole time, and the game is like obsessed with defenestrations.
Oh,
It probably
yes.
has a counter at the end of every level. It's like, how many people did you knock out of windows? Fucking great. Just I love this game so much.
Literally, like the main character frequently has like a bonus point if you complete the mission by defenestrating so many people.
Yeah. Excellent. So
Speaking of
just so
100% it.
The upgrades are huge in this game. When you're able to upgrade
So good.
an ability on a character, it makes huge difference in combat. It's crazy.
I also love basically each mission has like bonus objectives, and completing them gives you confidence. That's like the currency, and you spend it on new outfits for your characters. The idea being that they already own these clothes, but they're not confident enough to wear them. So
really
you have
good.
to like do
So
well
good.
to get enough confidence to wear these outfits. It's just, I love this game, man. I don't know.
Funny.
I think it's voting time. Is it me?
It is you,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be Rivals for me.
It's got to be Breach Wizards for me, obviously.
No, abstain for now.
Oh, for now, a tactical
Crazy.
abstain.
I want to see.
Man.
I just want to see the voting. See what happens.
It's Tactical Breach Wizards. Man, it just does everything so well.
It really does.
And I cannot say how good the writing is enough. It is just absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's good writing. Rivals.
I'm seeing a 3 and 3 here.
I don't think
It's got
Rivals.
good lore.
Rivals has never made me laugh out loud. Tactical
Are
Breach
you
Wizards almost
kidding?
every mission did.
Have
yeah,
you checked out this big acorn?
Okay, that's the one line.
fine. You got me.
Tactical Breach Wizards, it's every mission, man. Every mission.
Yeah. What you got, Ben?
What's Ben's vote? Yeah,
Breach Wizards. Gotta be Breach Wizards.
Right.
Yeah, so
I'm Rivals.
this is checking out to 3 and 3.
Dun dun dun.
So
I played some Tactical Breach Wizards. It's got good writing. I like the game. All right, it's pretty good. Rivals is a better game. Rivals made me uninstall Overwatch as a person who never gave up on Overwatch 2 and
that's
played Overwatch 2 like almost daily.
I don't think that says
Alex,
anything
you can't
about
be like,
Rivals.
man, I had bad
Yeah.
taste, and this game made me realize it's better than that. Like,
I really don't think it says anything about Rivals. I think it says something about you.
mhm.
Maybe.
We're at a
We want to put
that's
a
tough.
pin in this and go Metaphor v Tactical Breach, see what happens there, then come back to this.
We could do that.
I feel like we need to move on, but at the same time we're tied. I don't think anybody's going to give up their position. So what do we do?
Good question.
Great question.
That's a great question. When we had 7, it was easier.
Yeah.
Somebody text Owen and ask him to vote.
Yeah,
I know exactly what he's going to vote.
Yeah, he's played Tactical Breach Wizards. That's an Owen game.
Never mind. I take it back. Let's not text Owen.
Okay, what did we say we wanted to argue over here then if we're going to put a pin in this?
Let's
Here's the question. That it gets weird if something gets pushed up and then we have to come back to this.
I would propose Tactical Breach Wizards here. I love Tactical Breach Wizards, but I think people in this group feel more strongly about Rivals.
Just want to drop it off at 5, huh?
Makes me sad.
Makes me sad too.
Sounds great to me.
Oh my gosh.
I have a feeling Rivals is going to be our Back for Blood, guys.
Here's the
No,
thing, I feel
it's
better
not.
about Rivals than I do about Back for Blood. Back for Blood 1, I was like, I don't even like that game that much. Like, that game kind of sucks. Rivals is at least good.
It's true. It's true.
I'm okay
Oh.
with I mean, you're the one
we
who put
might
it at
need
5, so if you
Maybe
want
we
to
can revisit it.
the question is what do we put up against the next game then? Or do we argue both these games against the next game?
Could do that.
Do a 3-way.
Rivals has like taken over the industry too.
Okay, let me hit you with this. I think it sounds like Rivals is at a minimum 3. So why don't we do Tactical Breach Wizards and Metaphor, and then we'll end
Jake
up putting
and I have
Metaphor
to
at 5
decide.
because nobody else has played Metaphor, and then we'll put Tactical Breach Wizards at 4 and Rivals at 3. But we'll have that conversation before we do all that.
Sure.
How does that work?
Do you just want to talk about Metaphor then?
We can do that. Yeah.
I'm talking about Metaphor.
Because that's
Caleb, you wanna
basically
do
what
it?
you're saying,
I've
right?
introed like 2 or 3 of these.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
All right. Metaphor ReFantazio. Okay, so this comes from the Persona developers. It is essentially a new Persona game, but in a fantasy world where you're not playing as high school kids, which, man, allows them to do a lot of really interesting stuff with the story that there's no way they can do with high schoolers, which I think is a big plus. It also improves
That's an
upon the... Yes, that is an egg character. It also improves on the combat formula a lot, I think, from Persona. Persona had this system where you kind of like you fought enemies and then you could like absorb the enemies and use them, and then you could combine those to get new abilities. It was a lot of work. It was good, but it was a lot of work.
The
This
Persona
one-
fusing system sucks ass. Look, I hate it so much. I love Persona. I hate that system. Go on.
This one, you unlock these classes called archetypes as you meet new characters, and they kind of instill that archetype in you so you can study it. I don't know how to explain that.
You basically unlock classes that you can tell anyone to study. Like, you'll meet a character and it'll be like, oh, this is the sword guy. He starts with the sword class. But once you, like, meet him, you can tell anyone to train in the sword class.
And you can swap those in between every single battle. You can swap what each character has, and they can kind of bounce back and forth however you need, which plays a lot into the weakness system of the game, because almost all enemies, have various weaknesses to like lightning or cold, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when you strike a weakness, it kind of like gives you almost an extra turn and does a bunch more damage. So it's really, really important that you kind of build your party around exposing those weaknesses on enemies. And then you can buy like information from informants that tell you like what the boss's weaknesses are for a dungeon that you're about to go to. So you can like prep for it, which I think is a really, really cool idea. And the archetype system also has, as you level up the archetypes, they unlock slots that you can pull abilities from other archetypes and put them in. So you can kind of build your own that works really well together, it's just a really well done system.
The inheritance system, I think, is absolutely brilliant, because it's like, oh, well, this character is obviously going to be the sword guy. He's the sword guy. I'm just going to mainline him sword guy. And it's like, well, though, if I teach him to be a fist fighter for a little bit, I can inherit these two really cool abilities the fist fighting archetype gets, and just complements his sword fighting ability even more. It adds an extra level of planning and strategy that I really, really enjoy.
And much like a Persona game, the companions are all really interesting.
The
They have a
writing's
lot of
great.
cool stories going. Yep, the writing's great. The main storyline's excellent in this one. The Persona game, well, at least 5. The main story's it's good, but you can kind of see where it's going really early.
It is incredibly predictable. Sorry, go on.
Isn't that the one where you kill God?
That's all of them, Aaron. That's every JRPG that's ever been created. What are you talking about?
That's
Just
most
checking.
JRPGs.
That's what they're all about.
All right, got it.
Nothing against God.
I mean, who doesn't? It's just a good game. Like I hesitate to say that it's just the best Persona game. But
In my experience of having played the 2, it is the best.
yeah, I mean, it's just damn good. I don't know.
It's really good. It's really good. Really well written.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what this seems like is going to turn into is exactly what Jake was saying. You guys are going to have to pick which of these two games goes at 4 and 5 and Marvel's ends up at 3, and then we have to argue over the top 2.
So, for me, I put ReFantazio below Tactical Breach Wizards. Mainly that is because Metaphor is so close to Persona that, like, I love playing Metaphor, but playing it feels just like playing Persona to me, so it's like an incremental... Like, it's better, but it's standing on the shoulders of giants, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Tactical Breach Wizards is like a totally unique thing, came out of nowhere and really kind of blew my hair back, you know?
Yep. I put Metaphor higher on my list. I was kind of in between the two.
Yeah.
Metaphor still does some things that I don't particularly like sometimes.
Sure.
I don't think I can say that about Tactical Breach Wizards at all. I think I love everything that it does.
It's a damn good game. I will say, man, the turn-based system, if you get into a fight and the enemy can hit one of your guys' weakness, literally there have been times I've restarted the game. Because I was like, I could maybe win this if I spent an hour on it, or I could restart, pick a different archetype, and win it in about 5 minutes.
Yep.
That's kind of annoying.
And there are sometimes I'm fighting a guy, I've been fighting him for like 7 rounds, and it's fine. All my people are at full health. I'm doing good. All of a sudden, he pulls out this move that hits everybody, and he just does it 3 times in a row, and they're all dead. I'm like, well, I guess that comes
it's over. Yeah, kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Cast Blood Boil.
Basically.
Heck yeah.
How could you bring that up?
So I think we're at Metaphor at 5, Breach Wizards at 4, and then we do a 3-way for 1, 2, 3. I don't know what the best way to handle that is.
I don't know how it I mean, we can. I don't know how it breaches the top 2, honestly. Considering who's voting here and who's had...
I mean, we could put it at 3. I don't know. I leave that to other people.
Thoughts across the board? Are we doing Metaphor at 5?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're doing
so.
Metaphor at 5.
Metaphor at 5, yeah.
Fine with that.
Sadly.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah!
Just too long.
And it takes 10.
Oh, no.
Wait, I'm going to make this just absolutely awful. There we go.
Oh, no.
No, you know what I'm going to do. Just wait for it.
Metaphor.
Metaphor.
I love that. Yeah.
Ugh.
Tactical Breach.
Alright. Does anyone want to say that Marvel Rivals should not be at 3? Or do we put it there?
I think it belongs at 3.
I think it probably ends up like that. I personally would put 9 souls here.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I mean, the way my personal
Marvel
taste
Rivals is
would
not
go,
that good.
but I don't think the votes would go that way.
I think we should fight it out with Rebirth.
Which one?
Rivals and Rebirth?
Yeah.
Battle of the R's,
The
baby.
Rees.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
We can do
that's
it.
right.
We got to bring it up at some point.
We didn't.
We did.
We don't gotta.
Well, who
Man.
wants to talk about Rebirth?
I'll talk about it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. is literally everything that Final Fantasy Remake was, but better. It hit everything. Obviously, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII, it's telling the story again of Final Fantasy VII, and it's just a chunk of it. We're waiting for the third game to conclude it, which
three.
no.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah. They
Wait.
broke one game into 3 games, and there's a lot of filler content for sure.
Can I ask,
but-
like, how long was the original Final Fantasy VII? Like, time to beat? How long?
I mean,
to beat?
it was 3 discs on PS1. I'll look up how long to beat right now.
Probably
Yeah,
like
that's
12
good.
hours watch.
There's no way. It was a long fucking game.
So yeah, it's I just absolutely love this game. I put 200 hours into it. I platinumed it. The combat system is a like an action system with like it pretend tactical. Like it's basically like the using the Final Fantasy VII system of the turn-based combat, but you're playing like you're in God of War, because you're basically using all of your normal like actiony dodge rolls and attacks and stuff like that to build up AP, to pause time for a second, choose skills, maybe rotate between characters, choose multiple skills to use them synergistically in order to take on your enemies. The story is super, super well done. I feel like the pacing of it is way better in this game compared to Remake, where Remake just felt like kind of like a slog, especially when you went back into the sewers. You're like, are
Oh
you
my
freaking
God.
kidding me? At no point in this did I feel there was snail's pace storytelling at all. I kind of did it to myself by doing every single piece of side content before continuing to the next location. But after I went back, because you had to play through the hardest difficulty in order to platinum it, I beat it in like 20 hours, just going all the way through without doing any side pieces of content. Which, obviously 20 hours, because on the hardest difficulty, content was kind of hard. I had to take a couple times at different fights. I feel like all the characters are super unique, super fun to play. The builds you can create with the materia socketed into your weapons are just off the chain bonkers. Literally, you could break the game with a couple things that I won't spoil between the characters, the synergy there. I swinging a huge sword is really fun, or just like punching, with the tiny girl. Like, it's just a really good time. I feel like every piece of the side content also is fun, like the card game, which I never thought I'd get into it, but the card game was really fun. Queen's Blood. There was the like little action figure game that they have where you send troops down each lane. That was actually kind of fun. There's like strategy involved. It kind of breaks up the pace of the game to where you're not like just flying through the story. The one thing that I will say that's a negative in my opinion is there are these towers that you have to go find, and it unlocks locations. And of course, anytime there's like towers that you find to unlock the map, it's just like, eh. And then there's like 4 different pieces that you have to find of one of the gods to where you can beat him in Chad Simulator easier. Those really seem like kind of busy work instead of something that, you'd actually want to do. But if you were platinuming the game, then you did it anyways. So it was it was good fun. I liked it a lot. I absolutely love this game.
I'll say I'm playing through it now, and you can skip so much of that stuff and just kind of mainline it, and it works fine. And it does not feel like, anything slowing down or bogging down. The story is going at a pretty nice clip. Bosses are so sick. My favorite part of the game is definitely just like the way the combat system works, and like I can be fighting a boss and just getting my butt handed to me. And then I'll take like a step back, look at my party, maybe switch out a character, move some materia around, go back into the fight, and then just be like, man, this is way better than what I was doing before. Like, now I'm going to actually beat this dude. Like, and it's just the pure spectacle, the production value and spectacle that they can do on display for just like cinematics and like mid battle cutscenes and like all this kind of stuff. And the way the music hits. Music, I should mention actually, because I feel like there's like always unique music going on. Like, it is not a lot of the same stuff. They have so much unique music in this game that I feel like the composer was like waiting for them to finish the game or something and just decided to keep on writing music or something. I don't know. It's crazy. And there's so much like little quirky, like fun things with the characters too. Like at one point, Red 13 is a freaking dog, and like he got told he couldn't participate in this thing because he's a dog. And so like later on, he shows up fully dressed as a human walking on 2 feet and tries to blend in. It is so funny. Like stuff like that happens a lot. Yeah, I mean, the relationship building with the characters, there's like a system for that. Tons of little mini games, but yeah, I mean, playing it mainly just for the story and the main line is totally a fulfilling experience also, I think. It's just like super cool.
Right, you think there's a bunch of mini games going in just with like the card game, the action figure game. You get to the golden saucer and you're just like, all right, cool. There's just a whole I'm playing an arcade simulator now. Like there's just so many games to play.
Yeah, I did really want to make it to Golden Saucer before here, but I don't even think I came close.
The voting time?
For what it's worth, with Time to Beat, original game is 36 hours supposedly.
Okay.
The remake of the first part is like 32 and a half. This site says.
Yeah,
just main story.
The first part drags like crazy.
And then this one says it's 48 hours for main story.
Only?
Yeah.
Man, they really made a wow.
So
the first
long.
game, from what I understand, ends like around just after where the tutorial ends in the first game, or the remake ends just after where the
Pretty
tutorial ends in the first game.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first it's so the original game was on 3 discs. It ends when the first disc, I believe, ends.
Wow.
It's when the open world becomes available. Which is why this game is open world.
I think we're on the voting time.
Am I first?
I think you're first.
I think I'm gonna give it to Rebirth.
I'm definite Rebirth.
I'm all the way Rivals. I played like 7 hours of Rebirth. I could not get into it at all. I tried so hard.
Abstain this one for now.
Fair.
I really played Rivals and I haven't played Final Fantasy.
I'm going Rebirth. I think Rebirth is such a well executed game.
Yeah, I think
Hold on. Did Rebirth get you to uninstall Overwatch 2?
It didn't. That's a good point.
I'm
Vote
thinking
to
about giving it
Rivals.
to Rivals. I don't know.
Oh boy.
I think it's only fair that I also abstain from this vote because I only played Rivals during beta. I have not played since launch, and I have played zero Final
Really?
Fantasy. Yep. I've been so
He's been
busy,
very
dude.
busy.
That's crazy, dude.
I know.
Okay. All right.
All right, so
Well, if that's it, then that sounds like that's a Rivals at 3.
it is a Rivals at 3. And now we're back to arguing about this and the other game that was at the top. So here's the question. Herein lies the conundrum. Do we just vote on this?
We've talked a lot about both of them.
Yeah, that's the problem. We've talked.
We can do it. I don't know. Caleb, did you want to expand on what you said? You didn't really click with Rebirth. I don't want to just if you want to
I
expand.
don't want to
on
be mean about it.
One day,
Oh yeah, that's fair as well.
Caleb and I were just hanging out, and then Caleb goes, "Yeah, so like, what do you like about Rebirth?"
I had to know.
Then what'd you say? What'd you say? Hit me.
Pretty much what I said here. Like that combat system is, I really love the combat system, and I love the production value and the characters and story. I also will mention he didn't play Remake, which I think does a lot to endear you to the characters.
Yeah.
Remake, which is a worse game based on what you guys have said about these two, correct?
Gotta play that first.
So the odds that
Remake
Caleb's
versus
gonna like
remake.
that
Sure.
game before this
Man.
one.
I'll tell you,
I
Caleb,
feel-
you will hate the remake.
Yeah.
I know.
It has a few good parts, but it has a lot of sloggy parts.
I loved Remake. Remake is great, I think.
Yeah, to me, I mean, it would be a comparison of like God of War to God of War Ragnarok. Like
Okay.
Ragnarok's obviously better, but God of War is also extremely good.
God of War didn't have a part where they were like, "Hey, do you want to run through the sewer for like another 5 hours?"
I mean, okay, but didn't you have a problem with just God of War to begin with because you were going
mean,
up a
I
mountain and
did.
coming back down a mountain?
Absolutely true. that is
true.
fair.
He got you.
Still better than a mountain or a sewer, rather though.
True. Hey, remember that sewer that you already went through? Let's go through it again.
Yeah.
I will say I'm pretty surprised that Nine Souls got snubbed at the Game Awards. I think this game
Me too.
Yeah.
is an absolute masterpiece, other than literally the one component I don't like about it, which is the whole reason I didn't put it at 5.
I think
But-
there might be a political reason behind that.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Huh.
the
The
group that
Taiwanese
made
developer.
the group that made Nine Souls got into some hot water when I forget the game's called, but they had an
Devotion?
image. I think it was Devotion. They had an image of
Oh, you told me about this.
The Chinese president.
I can't remember his
Xi
name.
Jinping.
Yeah,
Xi Jinping.
and it was like him as it's like a Pooh Bear reference or something.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh. He's
And
very
it did
sensitive about
not
that. They do
go
not like
over
that.
well. So
Yes.
that game got like taken off of Steam and stuff.
Yeah, they got
And this is
blacklisted
their next
pretty
one.
hard about it.
So I think that might have something to do with it.
Maybe so.
Could be. I mean, to be fair, Prince of Persia, I don't think showed up at all either.
It was
did
in Best Action.
accessibility,
Right? Oh,
Also,
accessibility.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, but still,
it won
wasn't.
accessibility.
Oh, good for it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a GOTY contender.
No,
Even though
it wasn't a
I
GOTY
think
contender.
both of them deserve
Nine
more
Souls was
than.
up for nothing though.
Yeah,
Absolutely
nothing.
It
Yeah.
also got robbed
that is true. That is
satisfactory.
weird.
Not even nominated for anything. Especially with them being like, oh man, it's so amazing that Black Myth Wukong got nominated because it's like a Chinese developer. And then you're like,
Interesting.
I mean, compared to the 4 hours I played of Black Myth, which looks gorgeous. You said it before. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Nine Souls just absolutely blows it out of the water. There's not even a
Man.
comparison.
yeah.
The story in this game is really what finally sold me on it. That
So
and the
good.
combat with Lady Ethereal, but the story is so gut wrenching as you're just like sort of making your way through it, and like you learn what's actually going on. You're just like,
It's good to like
man.
the characters so much.
The talisman system, I think, is just cool. It's a neat little twist on, like, every game has a parry system these days. You know what I mean? But not every game has a cool talisman system where you dash through an enemy, leave a talisman on them, and it blows up
yep.
a little bit
Or-
later.
pretty
It's
cool.
a neat little addition, I think, to the
And
formula.
the Tai Chi kick that you do also, that's like not a counter, but specifically, creating
it's-
internal damage on the heavy attacks.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
jump
yeah.
over and you do a Tai Chi kick and you give them internal damage, and then you activate the talisman on them to just do more damage.
Detonate
It's
it. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of a cool, like the game ends up becoming this like system of combinations, even though it's not built that way. You kind of set it up to learn at bosses' attacks, and then you combine those abilities to make it fit with the way those bosses' mechanic or that boss's mechanic works. I think it's
Yeah.
really neat.
And then when they introduced the I don't remember what it's called, but the double parry where you have to like charge up the parry.
Yeah.
Oh, the unbound
The
counter.
blocks- Yeah,
So
so
good.
good.
Unbound counter
Such
is-
a nice complexity to fight.
It's so hard, but once
Jake's
I
like, I
feel
didn't
like
get
you get
there.
a grip on how
Didn't
to
get
like
that far.
Oh, I love it.
time it. Oh, whew.
You can.
Yeah, you didn't get to Lady Thrill,
Yeah.
did you, Jake?
I did not.
Unbound counter.
This
is
is
kind
the
of a
game I
spoiler.
kept meaning to get back to, but then we got close enough to Game of the Year that I was like, I should just play what I haven't played yet.
Yeah.
And so
get that.
I never came back to Nine Souls because I was like, I know I like Nine Souls, well enough. It's somewhere in the middle-ish.
I will say the final combat requires you to use almost every single thing that you have learned in the game.
It really does.
It's
Love
it's
that.
the only boss fight that does that. There are other boss fights where you're like, oh man, the unbound counter is really useful here, but you don't have to use other components of your
Sure.
combat techniques. Final battle, it is. I mean, the whole part, it's crazy.
Nailing the timing of unbound counter is really
It's hard.
satisfying.
So satisfying. Especially when you get the one that lets you like keep countering with the unbound counter.
That one's wild.
so good.
That one's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
I think the only negative mark for this game is that third phase, and I will say I think the true ending is the most, like, the best part of the game. Getting like the actual true ending, meaning you have to 3-phase the boss. You can't do it from a 2-phase. I think it's incredibly important for the game to kind of like cap its story. But I don't know.
Oh shoot, Alex, you didn't finish Rebirth, did you?
No.
So just Chad has finished it. Well, I mean, I guess it's just a question just for Chad then. Did you find the ending of Rebirth satisfying? Because obviously it's like the middle of a trilogy, and having played the original, I can guess kind of where it ends.
Yeah,
I'm curious how it felt.
Satisfying enough if the third comes out. If the third gets either canceled, delayed, etc., then
Okay,
Yeah.
fair. Okay, that makes sense. That does make sense.
I feel like it's been the saddest I've been playing any game ever.
Wow.
Wow.
All right.
So-
Okay. Did you know anything about Final
Absolutely
Fantasy VII? Not a thing. Wow.
Not a
Okay.
thing.
All right. You might be one of the only people that's true for.
Yeah.
I know about the character that's supposed to die.
I say
Just
I
through
know about
osmosis of
the
gaming.
only thing I know about that game is that there's a character who dies.
Yeah.
That's all.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I can know about
It
Final
is-
Fantasy VII.
It's one of the most famous things about that game.
I
Yeah.
don't even know it.
I will say I don't know, it can't possibly be because of this conversation, but my TikTok algorithm's like, you really need to see this one dude who has built a cloud, is this sword called the Buster Sword? Is that what it's
Yeah.
called?
Yeah, you got
Is
it.
he like working out with it?
Yes,
And trying
he's
to
working out. It's like day
I have that
94 of swinging the Buster Sword until I can
Oh,
swing
yeah.
it like Cloud does. I'm like, why am I getting this content?
I almost think that's not a Final Fantasy reference. I think that's a what is that? What was that other, the sword that's in Elden Ring? And it's a reference to
Berserk.
something Berserk. Yes.
Yeah.
Berserk.
Berserk.
Mhm. Yeah. I got
Okay.
sword.
Is it voting time?
It might be.
All right, Chad, I think you're first.
Yes,
We
in
all know
fact.
what I'm voting for.
Yeah, I know what you're voting for.
Rebirth.
9 Souls.
I feel like I shouldn't abstain on the final vote. I'm gonna say 9 Souls.
Oh, just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
No,
it is.
it's- okay.
Holy crap.
Hear me out. I liked the bit of 9 Souls I did play, and I really there's part of me, and this is probably rude, and I'm sure other people disagree with it, but there's part of me that doesn't like giving Game of the Year to a remake. I know I'm gonna get a lot of disagreements there, and I don't think being a remake says it can't be Game of the Year, but I think it takes a hit for that in my
I
book.
feel like I would agree with you if it was like,
Just
I don't know, Gears of War 1 comes out again and it's just like
Sure.
refurbished or something.
Oh,
It's
so only
like
bad
got
games
better
getting remade
graphics.
takes a remake hit?
just better.
No,
No,
I feel like you're saying, Chad, like this game is not a remake. This game is like a complete embellishment / retelling of a really small part of a bigger story.
I think it's
A
just a completely
retelling
new game, but it has
is
the same
better.
story.
Better word, maybe.
I would
Yeah.
say if it was just a straight remake, it probably wouldn't have gotten
No.
on this list.
And
at
I'm,
all,
I'm
right?
not saying
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
I'm saying it takes a small hit for that. Also,
Sure.
the bit of 9 Souls I played, I didn't play a lot of it, but I found it really interesting, and that's from somebody who does not like side-scrolling sorts of games.
Sure.
The art was really pretty, and I got to that very beginning of the game twist, and it made me go, "Oh, holy shit! What the fuck?" So
Mm-hmm,
I don't know. I like that.
But
I
you
will
don't-
say
you don't
if we need
typically
to
like
discount a vote,
Metroidvanias.
if we need to discount a vote for this round, I'm happy to be the first one to be discounted.
I'm gonna
Doesn't-
tentatively leave it at 1-1 for now.
Yeah.
Don't like Metroidvanias. You don't like Souls likes. Really? I don't know. I'm
It's a
voting
good round.
Rebirth.
I don't really like Final Fantasy games, so it's a
There we go.
I see that I don't like old Final Fantasy. I've played 16 and I've played Remake and Rebirth. That's it.
Did you play
That's
any
it.
of the old ones?
No.
So when you say you don't like old Final Fantasy, you mean you haven't played them?
I mean,
Oh,
'Cause
he
old
changes
Final
the
Fan-
story.
I would say,
Interesting.
honestly,
Hmm.
for me, Final Fantasy VII doesn't count as one of the old ones. I know it is old, but
Yeah.
it's not the old ones.
I actually did have Final Fantasy VII on PS1. I don't consider myself to have played it because I didn't get anywhere near close to finishing it, but
Yeah, I did play 2 and 3.
never have I really got into those party-based JRPG games. Really.
It's 9 souls for me.
Me and we're tied.
Jake decides.
I like Nine Souls more. I think I gotta give it to Nine Souls personally. Yeah.
All right.
So sad about our game of the year. Well,
It's.
I mean,
listen,
It's not.
yeah. I feel like this was a very close one.
And considering previous game of the years we voted on, this could have been way worse. We could have put something up there that we regret every year when we do game of the year.
It's true.
yeah, I feel like I can look back on this and be proud of Nine Souls winning.
I'll be honest, almost any of our at least our top 5. I mean, okay, that's not fair. The last 2 were all mine. I'll say any of like the top 7-ish.
Mhm.
I could have seen being our game.
Wow.
of the year.
Okay.
I was gonna
Jake.
say top 7. I could put any of those maybe and be okay with it.
I could have seen any of them being GOTY if voting had gone a different way. Look, Ben, Satisfactory. I didn't play it because I know I would hate Satisfactory so goddamn much.
Yeah.
I would start it and be like, I hate this.
Before we go, is there any game you guys are surprised did not make on this list at all?
Yes. Dragon Age.
Huh?
Very
That is a
good.
little surprising.
Dragon Age wasn't even an honorable
After
Not
mention.
even an
playing-
honorable mention.
That's
I thought
true.
about putting it in an honorable mention, but I just think it's like too.
It's very
it's
mid.
like it's not
It's
exciting
too-
enough.
honestly,
It's mid.
Here's the thing. I liked Dragon Age a lot, but I
you
don't.
did.
I was thinking about it earlier. I don't think it did anything noteworthy enough to like
Mm.
justify mentioning it. Like I considered
That's totally fair.
making that one of my honorable mentions instead of economics, but I was like,
Mm.
all I can say about Dragon Age that I liked about it is that I enjoyed, like, I really liked the mechanical combat, but like, it's not like it didn't do anything that I was like, man,
Yeah.
it's wild. It's just it did it did the combat good, which lots of
Mhm.
other games do that same style of combat good.
So
You know,
So, go ahead.
I picked up the game, and my TikTok was immediately flooded with Dragon Age clips.
Oh boy.
Wild. Who knew, right? And
Yeah.
I was just like, this writing is complete trash. Like, what happened to Dragon Age? Like,
Yeah.
the writing used to be so good, and they just, I don't know, like none of the dialogue hit at all when I was watching any of those clips. Pretty much forcefully, because like I was trying to scroll past them, and it's just like every single time it's just Dragon Age, and so I decided to uninstall, not play it, and was trying to refund it, but you know how that story goes.
Yeah. I mean, one of the best games I played this year is Dragon Age Origins. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
It's
I
such a
think
good
Dragon
game.
Age Origins. It's one of the greatest of all time, in my
should put
opinion.
that in HM.
still holds up.
Yeah, it's man,
Great
it's
game.
So good.
I was really. Go ahead.
Good.
No, go ahead.
I was
Go
just, I was basically gonna just agree with Chad. Even as a fan of Dragon Age and someone who I think I have a pretty high, I feel like I tolerate kind of cringy writing pretty well.
Mhm.
Playing
Veilguard.
the new Veilguard, thank you. It's such a bad name, I forget it.
Yeah.
Just the writing, I just played through. I was like, oh, okay.
I feel like
Whatever.
there's a
That's my thing
line
for me.
though.
Dragon Age Veilguard was just aggressively mid. Like
Yes.
it
Mm.
wasn't like
It's not bad.
other Dragon
It's
Age
okay.
games. I could point out like things they did that I was like, I thought this was really bad,
Yeah, sure.
or like I thought this was really good. Dragon
Sure.
Age Veilguard, there's nothing really in it that I'm like, man, I hated this. Like the writing was
Mhm.
bad, but it wasn't like bad.
It's not
You know,
terrible.
it was like
It's
just
okay.
all of it was just like, yeah. I
It's
mean,
fine.
okay. Like I
It's
enjoyed
kinda
playing
all
it,
held up
but
by the
like
combat.
as soon as a new game
Yeah.
came out that
Mm.
was interesting, I dropped it and I started
Yeah.
playing something else. Like
Yeah.
I feel like to Jake's point, him playing cringe, dialogue games. I think there's a line where it's like, it's cringe, but it's trying to take itself seriously.
Yeah,
and that's
sure.
cringe, and it's just cringe. And it's like I
yeah.
feel like the cringe for cringe is like okay, but the cringe while trying to take itself seriously, like they actually wrote that line thinking that it was going to hit the audience, and the audience is going to be like, yeah, that's where it's like, nah, like that's you missed it.
I mean, we
Yeah.
know Jake likes cringe for cringe in dialogue.
Yeah.
He played Panzermädels all the way.
Panzer
Nice
Madels.
look, man. I'm the king of
what's
cringe.
the pigeon game?
Beautiful boyfriend.
Beautiful boyfriend, baby.
There you go.
Man,
Yeah.
along the same lines of like not being terrible but not being good enough in cringe dialogue, I was surprised when I evaluated all the games I played this year, and like Life is Strange Double Exposure didn't make my list.
I kind of thought you would put that one in here somewhere.
Yeah, like I'm a huge Life is Strange fan, and it's the original character coming back, and
Yeah.
they've got like supernatural stuff going on again that's actually like core to the
Cool.
gameplay. But yeah, it just didn't hit the high mark that it has in the past, and also the ending of that game is a to be continued that sets up more stuff. So I'm like kind of disappointed that it wasn't a self-contained
Sure.
story.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that can blemish an entire experience, right? You get to the
Yeah.
end, and it's like, oh, and especially something like that where it's like Final Fantasy, right? I asked about that earlier, and it's like they're almost certainly going to make a third one. Like, there's almost no way this ends after 2. The new Life is Strange, will they make another one? Probably, but I don't know.
It could have done bad enough they decide not to, and now
It's
it's
possible.
just forever to be continued.
Who knows, right?
I don't know.
The three things that stood out from me from this list and what we've been talking about is one, nobody even honorable mentioned Stellar Blade, and there are multiple people in this group that played Stellar Blade and really enjoyed it and talked it up on podcasts. I was surprised not to see that. Also, I am surprised that none of us ended up playing Silent Hill 2 after
Did.
You actually played it and it didn't make your list, really?
I've played. I think I'm like halfway through it.
Wow.
It's fun. It has a lot of performance issues.
Fun.
Does it?
That's how you know
Okay.
they messed up Silent Hill 2. Shouldn't be fun. Should be an absolute miserable experience.
The other one that I was really surprised by is Jake's most anticipated game. I really thought it was going to be Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, and it wasn't.
That game, like, it'll probably be fun. It probably won't be very, like, it won't be amazing, probably.
So I think to reply to the Stellar Blade comment, I feel like it may have made my list if Rebirth wasn't a thing, because I played Stellar Blade on the heels of Rebirth. And it's like I had such a great time with Rebirth, and I got the Stellar Blade, and I'm like, like it's not
Sure.
Man, I like the combat so much better in Stellar Blade.
I didn't
I mean,
get a chance to play Stellar Blade, unfortunately.
The only reason I didn't play Stellar Blade is it wasn't on anyone's list. I was going through, I was like, oh boy, maybe it's time to play Stellar Blade, and I was like, or maybe it's time to play more Final Fantasy, I guess. All right, that works too.
Nice. Well, there's our final list. At 10, Last Epoch, 9, Satisfactory, 8, Echo Point Nova, 7, Prince of Persia, Lost Crown, 6, Helldivers 2, 5, Metaphor. Man, I can't believe I put a 4 there,
who
but
wrote
here we go.
that like that?
Metaphor ReFantasio, 4, Tactical Breach Wizards, 3, Marvel Rivals, 2, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, and number 1, taking our Game of the Year for 2024 is 9 Souls, which got snubbed at the Game Awards.
Take that, Jeff Keighley.
I wonder if Nine
Fucking
Souls was my
idiot.
most anticipated from last year. It might have been.
What were
I don't
all the
I was so
nominations
excited
for
for it.
GOTY this year?
For Game Awards, it was
Astrobot?
Astrobot, Balatro, sorry, not Balatro, Balatro,
Balatro.
Rebirth.
Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, of course, Rebirth, and ReFantasio.
Okay, so
ReFantasio
ReFantasio.
got a nod.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about it. It was probably because I looked at it and I said, well, that ain't gonna fucking win.
Yeah.
ReFantasio and Rebirth made our list. Out of those,
I'm not
Mhm.
upset
That's
at all
interesting.
about Balatro not making it or
Black Myth
Astrobot.
Wukong, Astrobot.
Not really.
Freaking DLC for Elden Ring.
Oh, you know what? I did realize one of my honorable mentions should have been Unicorn Overlord. But by the time I realized that, I had already written down my honorable mentions, so it was too late.
Too late.
Yeah. That, I mean, obviously, it didn't leave that much of an impact if I forgot about it.
It's hard to remember things you don't play on Steam.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely hurt. It
That's
also
the
didn't hurt that
problem.
Aaron said, Jake, add more honorable mentions while I was like 2 drinks deep, not at home. I was like, all right, let me think.
Wait, wasn't it this morning?
It was yesterday. It was last night.
Okay, all right, just checking.
He was 2 drinks deep, not at home this morning.
Yeah, listen, it was a really good night. Okay.
Last night when Jake
Or a
had
really
to,
rough day.
Last night
Yeah.
when Jake had to hand me his phone so I could put my honorable mentions.
That's
in.
literally.
Oh my gosh. Cool. Well, I guess thanks so much for joining us for our Game of the Year edition podcast. Man, we'll be playing a lot more games this year, and I'm sure we'll tune back in for another Game of the Year edition and pick something terrible next year. So, yeah, it's probably like a flip-flop for us. You know, we do Back for Blood, and then we do something like Nine Souls.
I think next year's going to be Back 5 Blood. That's my guess. That's my
Back
prediction.
5 Blood. Yes. I think you're right.
It's 3-player co-op though.
Of course.
All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. We will catch you next time. See you.